I spent 15 years working inside casinos, and what I'm about to tell you is going to make casino owners furious. There are 26 warning signs that a slot machine is rigged against you right now. Things like machines that look identical but pay completely different amounts, celebration screens that make you feel like a winner while you're losing money, employee recommendations that are actually paid commissions to steer you toward the tightest machines. The casino industry has spent millions perfecting these tricks. And they don't want you knowing any of this, but once you know what to look for, you'll spot the red flags instantly. The next time you sit down at a slot machine, you'll know within 30 seconds whether to stay or walk away. Let's get into it. Number 26, the just paid out trap. Walk into any casino and you'll hear someone say it. That machine just hit for $10,000. Don't even bother. It's ice cold now. I heard this same line for 15 years working casino floors. And I'm telling you right now, it's complete nonsense, but here's what makes it dangerous. Casinos know you believe this, and they use it against you. Let me explain how slot machines actually work, because understanding this will save you more money than anything else I tell you today. Every single spin on a modern slot machine is determined by something called a random number generator. This computer chip is cycling through millions of number combinations every single second, even when nobody's playing. When you hit that spin button, you're not starting a process. Yes, you're just telling the machine to stop on whatever number it's already generated at that exact microsecond. Think about flipping a coin. If it lands on heads 5 times in a row, what are the odds of getting heads on the 6th flip? Still 50-50, right? The coin doesn't remember what it did before, so slot machines work the same way. That machine that just paid out $4,500 on a bonus round has the exact same odds of hitting again on the very next spin as it did before that jackpot. The random number generator doesn't know it just paid out. It can't know. It's literally incapable of knowing. So why does this myth survive? Because our brains aren't wired to understand randomness. When you see a machine pay out big, it feels wrong to think it could hit again immediately. Casino employees perpetuate this myth too, sometimes without even realizing it. I've watched floor attendants guide players away from machines that just paid because they genuinely believed those machines needed time to refill. They were wrong, but their confidence was convincing. Here's what casinos actually do with this psychology. They'll make a huge production out of jackpots. Lights flashing, sounds blaring, attendants rushing over, hand-pay procedures that take 20 minutes. All of this creates a show that burns into your memory. You remember that machine's location. You avoid it for your next 3 visits. Meanwhile, that machine might have the best payout percentage on the entire floor, and you're walking right past it because of superstition. I watched one woman hit a $12,000 jackpot on a Buffalo-themed game near the sportsbook. 2 hours later, after she cashed out and left, that same machine hit for $8,000. The guy who won had watched her jackpot, waited for the machine to go unused for about 10 minutes, then sat down figuring everyone else would avoid it. Smart player. He understood what I'm telling you now. The real trap isn't the machine that just paid out. The real trap is limiting your choices based on myths while casinos laugh all the way to the vault. Play machines based on their actual payout percentages, their denominations, and your budget. Not based on whether someone else got lucky 5 minutes ago. Number 25, the temperature check deception. You've probably done this yourself. Walked up to a row of machines, touched a few of them, looking for the one that feels warm. I've seen thousands of players do it. Some even bring their spouse over to confirm. Honey, feel this one. It's hot. And I'm going to tell you something that might disappoint you. The temperature of a slot machine has absolutely nothing to do with whether it's about to pay. But casinos know players believe this, and they've built their floor layouts around this superstition. Let me explain what's really happening when you feel a warm machine. Slot machines generate heat from their internal components. The computer processors, the display screens, the bill validators, the lights in the top box. All of this creates warmth. A machine that's been played continuously for 3 hours will feel warmer than one that's been sitting idle, and that's it. That's the whole secret. The heat tells you the machine has been used recently, nothing more. Now here's where it gets interesting. Casinos control the temperature of different zones on their floor. Walk near the main entrance or the buffet, you'll notice it's cooler. That's intentional. They want you comfortable in high traffic areas, but walk deeper into the casino, especially into areas with lower ceilings or less ventilation, and the temperature rises. Those machines feel warmer because the air around them is warmer. I worked with a facilities manager who explained their HVAC strategy. They deliberately run certain sections warmer because players associate warmth with activity. They think warm equals winners. So casinos cluster their tighter machines, the ones with lower payout percentages, in these warmer zones. You touch 3 machines, they all feel hot. You pick one thinking it's been paying out. Really, you just walked into a warm corner of the building filled with machines set to hold more of your money. Here's another trick. Machines positioned under heating vents or near kitchens will always feel warmer. I've seen players camp out on games near the coffee shop for hours, convinced the warmth meant something special. The only thing special was the ambient temperature from the espresso machine 15 feet away. Some of the coldest machines I ever saw, temperature-wise, were our biggest winners. We had a bank of dollar games near an emergency exit that staff kept propped open during slow periods. Cold air poured in, and those machines were ice cold to the touch. They also had some of the better payout rates on the floor because they were in an awkward location we wanted to make more attractive. Players avoided them because they felt cold and unlucky. Your hand can't detect random number generator patterns. It can detect heat from electronics and ambient air temperature, and that's all. If you're going to touch a machine before playing, do it to make sure the buttons work and the screen isn't cracked. Don't do it to predict your odds of winning, because the temperature of that metal and plastic casing knows exactly as much about your chances as your horoscope does. Number 24, the strategic placement scam. Every casino expert and self-proclaimed slots guru will tell you the same thing. Play the end machines. The ones at the end of the row pay better because casinos want to create excitement in high visibility areas. I'm going to tell you right now, this advice is 20 years outdated, and following it is costing you money. This myth comes from the old Las Vegas strategy books from the 80s and 90s. Back then, some casinos did set end-of-row machines to pay slightly better because those positions got more attention. Somebody hits a jackpot on an end machine, everyone walking by sees it. Free advertising. But casinos figured out decades ago that players caught on to this, and now they've completely reversed the strategy. Here's what actually happens with machine placement in modern casinos. The slots director has a map of the entire floor divided into zones based on foot traffic, visibility, and what they call dwell time. That's how long players typically stay in each area. The premium spots, the ones every player notices, get filled with games that hold the most money for the house. End caps, machines near main walkways, anything adjacent to the casino cage or host desk. These are your worst odds. I sat in on placement meetings where we specifically discussed using player superstitions against them. And we knew people believed in lucky and spot, so we put our tightest games there. A tight game means lower return to player percentage. We're talking machines set to give back 91 or 92% instead of 95 or 96. Over hundreds of spins, that difference is enormous. Think about it from the casino's perspective. Why would they put their most generous machines in the spots that get the most play? That's backwards business. You put your profit makers in your premium real estate. The games with better odds get tucked into corners, placed in low traffic areas where casinos need an incentive to draw players. I'll give you a specific example. We had a bank of penny video poker games near the back restrooms. Terrible location. People only walked past them when nature called. So we set those machines to return 97%, nearly 3% better than our flashy end cap slots. Within 2 months, word of mouth from locals made those restroom machines some of our most popular. Players thought they'd discovered a secret. We just put better odds in a spot that needed help. Here's another placement trick casinos use. They'll put a loose machine, one that pays better, right next to several tight ones. You sit down at the loose one by chance, you have a good session, you remember that row. Next time you come back, that seat's taken, so you sit one machine over. Now you're on a tight game, but you're playing it because you associate that whole row with your previous win. The absolute worst spots in any casino are the machines near the entrance. Casinos want the first thing you see to be action and excitement, so they put games there that hit frequently for small amounts. Lots of lights, lots of sounds, lots of celebration screens. but the actual return to player percentage is terrible. You're entertainment for people walking in, and you're paying for the privilege. And if you want to find better machines, just look for the spots casinos are trying to make more appealing. Back corners, awkward alcoves, areas near emergency exits, or away from bars and restaurants. These locations need better odds to compete for your attention. The end of row myth made sense 40 years ago. Today, it's exactly backwards. Number 23, the bill validator. Hesitation. You slide a 20 into the machine and nothing happens. You straighten it out and try again, and the machine pulls it halfway in before spitting it back out. Third try, it finally accepts. Most players think this is just a minor annoyance, maybe a dirty sensor. What I am about to tell you is something most casino employees don't even realize. That bill validator problem is your first warning sign about that machine's maintenance status. And maintenance status tells you everything about whether you should be sitting there. Bill validators are simple devices. They scan your money, verify it's legitimate, and convert it to credits. When they start hesitating or rejecting bills repeatedly, it means one of two things. Either the validator itself is wearing out, or the machine isn't being serviced on the regular schedule. Both of these scenarios are bad news for you. Here's why this matters. Casinos run on maintenance schedules. Machines are supposed to be cleaned, tested, and serviced on regular cycles. High-performing machines that make the casino money get serviced frequently, sometimes weekly. Poor performers, the ones players avoid, might go weeks or even months between proper maintenance calls. When a bill validator starts acting up, it's a symptom of neglect. Now, why would a casino neglect certain machines? Because those machines aren't profitable enough to justify constant attention. And why aren't they profitable? Usually because they're set to tighter payout percentages and players have already figured out to avoid them. So the casino stops maintaining them as carefully. You know what doesn't get adjusted or monitored as closely? The payout rates on neglected machines. They stay tight. I worked with a slot technician who explained it perfectly. When corporate sends down directives to adjust floor-wide payout percentages, techs start with the high-traffic machines, the ones that get played constantly and generate revenue. Those get updated, tested, and optimized. The forgotten machines in the back? They get to it when they get to it. Sometimes they don't get to it for months, so that sticky bill validator isn't just annoying. It's telling you this machine isn't a priority for the casino. It's not making enough money to warrant regular attention. And if it's not making money for the casino, it's probably because it's not paying players enough to keep them interested. Here's what else happens with poorly maintained machines. The random number generator software runs on the same computer system as everything else. When a machine isn't being serviced properly, minor software glitches can develop. I'm not saying the RNG stops being random because gaming commissions test for that, but I've seen machines develop quirks. Delayed spins, frozen screens during bonus rounds, incorrect credit displays that require attendant resets. Every time you have to call an attendant, that's dead time you're not playing. The casino doesn't lose anything from your interrupted session. You lose time and momentum. Pay attention to how smoothly money goes in and out. If the bill validator hesitates, if the ticket printer jams, if the coin hopper sounds like it's grinding, these aren't random mechanical failures. They're indicators that you're sitting at a machine the casino has essentially given up on. And if the casino doesn't care about that machine, why should you trust it with your money? I've told people this for years. The smoothest operating machines, the ones that accept bills instantly, print tickets clearly, respond immediately to your button presses. Those are the machines getting regular attention. That attention means they matter to the casino's bottom line. You want to play machines that matter because those are the ones being monitored for proper payout percentages and fair operation. The neglected machines with sticky validators? Walk away. Find one that works like it's supposed to. Number 22, the coin-in display manipulation. This one tricks even experienced players, and casinos are counting on your confusion. You sit down at what looks like a penny slot. The screen says 1 cent right on it. You start playing, and after 20 spins, you've somehow burned through $60. You think you're unlucky. What actually happened is the casino used your assumptions against you. Modern slot machines are denomination chameleons. That penny slot can cost you $5 per spin if you're not paying attention. Here's how they hide it. The machine displays credits, not dollars. You put in a 20 and the screen shows 2,000 credits. Looks great, right? All those credits make you feel wealthy. But what the screen doesn't emphasize is that each spin is consuming 50 or 100 of those credits. Let me break down exactly how this works. The machine has a denomination that's your base betting unit. 1 cent, 2 cents, 5 cents, whatever. Then it has lines. Most video slots have 30, 40, sometimes 50 or more pay lines. Then there's bet per line. This is where they get you. The game defaults to maximum bet per line, which might be 5 or 10 times the base denomination. So your penny slot is actually running 1 cent times 40 lines times 5 credits per line. That's $2 per spin. But the screen just shows minus 200 credits. Your brain doesn't convert credits back to dollars quickly enough to realize how fast you're spending. This is completely intentional. I watched slots directors design these credit displays. They test them with focus groups. They know exactly how to make large credit numbers feel comfortable while hiding the actual cash consumption. The bigger the credit number, the less anxious you feel about spending. It's basic psychology weaponized against your bankroll. Here's another trick with the same concept: multi-denomination machines. These are games that let you switch between pennies, nickels, quarters, and dollars on the same machine. Sounds convenient. The problem is the machine remembers your last denomination setting. You played dollars last week, cashed out, walked away. This week, you sit down at what you think is the penny setting because that's what the sign above the machine says. You're actually still on dollars from the previous player or your own last session. I've had players come up to me furious, insisting the machine malfunctioned because their $100 bill vanished in 12 spins. I pulled up the play history and showed them they were betting $8 per spin on a multi-denomination game they thought was set to quarters. The machine didn't malfunction. Their assumptions cost them. Casinos put the denomination information on screen, but they make it small, subtle, easy to overlook when you're focused on the reels and the bonus symbols. They know you're not reading every detail. They're counting on it. Here's what you need to do before every single session. Look at the bet display. Not the credits, the actual bet amount in dollars or coins. Most machines show this somewhere, usually in a corner. If it says bet 200 credits, do the math. Find the denomination, multiply it out. So know exactly what you're spending per spin. If the machine makes this difficult to find, that's a red flag all by itself. Some machines hide the total bet until after you spin. You see lines and bet per line, but not the combined total until credits start disappearing. These games are designed to be confusing. The more confused you are about what you're spending, the faster you'll drain your bankroll without realizing it. I'm going to tell you something that might make you angry. Casinos used to have coin-in meters on the front of machines. Physical meters you could watch increment with each spin. You knew exactly how much money was going into that game. When they switched to ticket in, ticket out, and credit displays, they eliminated that transparency on purpose. They don't want you thinking in dollars. They want you thinking in credits, because credits feel like play money. Before you put a single dollar into any machine, spend 30 seconds understanding the denomination, the number of lines, and the bet per line. Calculate your actual cost per spin. If it's more than you plan to spend, change the settings or find a different machine. Don't let credit displays fool you into burning through your budget 3 times faster than you intended. Number 20, the bonus round frequency drop. You know this feeling. You sit down at a slot machine and within 15 spins, you trigger the bonus round. Maybe you hit it twice in the first 10 minutes. You're feeling great, the game is hot, you're convinced this is your machine. Then the bonus rounds just stop coming. You play for another hour, 300 spins, nothing, not even close. You keep playing because you remember how frequent they were at the start, and you're sure another one is due any minute. This is one of the most effective psychological traps in modern slot design, and I need you to understand it's not really a trap at all. It's your brain playing tricks on you, and casinos design the entire experience to encourage those tricks. Random number generators don't have memory. I know I mentioned this earlier, but this specific situation trips up even people who understand RNG basics. When you hit 2 bonus rounds quickly at the start of your session, that's variance, pure chance. The same randomness that gave you early bonuses is the same randomness that's now making you wait. The machine didn't change, your luck did. But here's what casinos know about human psychology. When you experience early success, you anchor to that as normal. 2 bonuses in 15 spins becomes your expectation. When reality reverts to the actual average, which might be 1 bonus every 100 spins, you feel cheated. You think the machine switched modes or tightened up. It didn't. It's doing exactly what it always does, being random. Now, I'm going to tell you about something that makes this worse. Some machines are programmed with what's called high volatility. These games are designed to have long, dry spells punctuated by big wins and frequent bonuses when they finally hit. They're boom and bust by design. The game doesn't know you just sat down. It doesn't care that you hit bonuses immediately. That was coincidence. The programmed volatility means you might now face the bust cycle. Here's where casino placement strategy comes in. High volatility games often get positioned in areas where casinos want to create excitement. Near entrances by the casino cage in high visibility spots. Why? Because when these games hit, they hit loud and big. Other players see the bonus rounds, the celebration screens, the credit totals jumping. It draws attention. What other players don't see is the same machine eating $400 between those exciting moments. I watched a man play a Buffalo-themed slot for 6 hours once. He hit the bonus round 3 times in his first 20 minutes. Then nothing for the next 5.5 hours. He kept playing, absolutely convinced the machine owed him more bonuses. He spent $2,000 chasing that feeling from his first 20 minutes. The machine didn't owe him anything. He experienced random variance and mistook it for a pattern. Here's another element most players never consider. Bonus round frequency is programmed into the game's math model, but that frequency is an average over millions of spins. Over the lifetime of that machine, the bonus might trigger once every 87 spins on average, but you're not playing millions of spins. In your 300 spin session, you might see 0 bonuses or you might see 6. Of course, both outcomes are possible within the programmed randomness. Casinos love when you chase bonus rounds. Every spin you make trying to trigger that feature is a spin where the house edge is working against you. The base game has the same house edge as the bonus game. You're not more likely to profit by forcing your way to a feature. You're just spending more money on a hope. Pay attention to how you react to early bonus rounds. If you hit features quickly, enjoy them, but don't let them reset your expectations. Don't assume the machine is loose or hot or in bonus mode. It's random. If the bonuses stop coming, that's not the machine changing. That's randomness being random. The smartest players I ever saw treated every spin as independent. They didn't care if they'd gone 20 spins or 200 spins without a bonus. They had a budget, they played until it was gone, or until they hit a win goal, and they left. They didn't chase frequencies or patterns because they understood there aren't any. If you notice a severe bonus frequency drop, don't increase your bets to trigger one faster. Don't speed up your play. Don't buy into the gambler's fallacy that the machine is due. Set a limit before you start playing. If you go 100 spins or a certain dollar amount without a bonus, and that frustrates you, cash out and walk away. The machine doesn't know you're frustrated, and it definitely doesn't care. Your emotions cost you money. The casino's random number generator just keeps generating numbers whether you're there or not. Number 19, the Players Club. Tier Trap. Your Players Club card is supposed to reward loyalty, free meals, hotel discounts, cash back on your play. Casinos make it sound like you're getting something for nothing. What they don't advertise is how that little plastic card affects which machines you should avoid and which ones might actually give you a fair shot. Every time you slide your card into a slot machine, the casino knows exactly who you are, how much you typically bet, how long you play, and what tier you're in. Platinum, gold, silver, whatever they call their levels. That information doesn't just sit in a database for marketing purposes. It influences your entire casino experience in ways you need to understand. Let me start with the biggest secret about Players Club tiers. Casinos reserve certain machines for certain player levels, and I'm not talking about official high-limit rooms. I'm talking about subtle algorithmic steering that most players never notice. Walk into any major casino with your basic tier card, and the host system flags you as a low-value player. The machines you're statistically likely to choose, based on thousands of players just like you, are machines the casino has optimized to extract maximum value from casual players. Here's how this works in practice. Casinos analyze play patterns by tier level. They know bronze and silver players gravitate toward penny and nickel games with recognizable themes: Wheel of Fortune, Sex, and the City, Game of Thrones. Big brands with expensive licensing fees that the casino needs to recoup. So they set those machines to tighter payout percentages and position them where low-tier players congregate. Your card isn't preventing you from playing them, but the whole system is designed to guide you toward the casino's most profitable games for your player segment. Now flip this around. High-tier players, the ones who've earned platinum or diamond status by losing hundreds of thousands of dollars, get different treatment. Casinos need to keep these players coming back, so they're offered machines with slightly better odds. Not dramatically better, we're talking maybe 0.5% to 1% higher return to player. But over a year of heavy gambling, that difference keeps high-value players from defecting to competitors. I sat in meetings where we discussed exactly this strategy. Marketing called it player journey optimization. I called it what it is: rigging the geography of the casino floor based on how much money we expected to extract from different customer segments. Your card tier determines which machines the casino wants you playing, even though every machine is theoretically available to everyone. Here's something else your card tracks that most people don't think about: loss limits and win thresholds. The system monitors when you're up money and when you're down. Some casinos have experimented with dynamic offers that trigger based on your current session. You're down $300, suddenly a host appears with a free buffet voucher. Seems nice, right? They're interrupting your play at the exact moment you might walk away from losses, giving you a reason to stay on property and potentially lose more. The reverse happens when you're winning. Your card data shows you're up significantly. Offers dry up. Nobody's rushing over with free drinks or show tickets. The casino wants you playing, not cashing out to enjoy comps. I've seen this pattern thousands of times. Players on hot streaks get ignored while players on cold streaks get showered with minor perks to keep them gambling. Now, here's the part that should really concern you. Some casinos share player data across properties. You're a low-tier player at one casino, that information follows you to their sister properties in other cities. The algorithms already assume you're a casual player who doesn't understand optimal strategy. You walk into a casino you've never visited before, insert your card, and their system has already categorized you. There's also the psychological element of tier status. Casinos structure their program so climbing to the next tier feels achievable. You're 2,000 points away from gold status. The benefits look attractive. So you play more, chase those points, and spend money you didn't plan to spend. Meanwhile, the cost to earn those points far exceeds the value of the perks you'll receive. That free hotel room you earned cost you $800 in losses to qualify for. You didn't win. You just bought a room at 4 times the normal rate without realizing it. Let me tell you about the absolute worst thing about Players Club cards. They enable the casino to identify your break point. That's the dollar amount where you typically stop playing. Maybe it's when you've lost $200, or $500, whatever your personal threshold is. The casino's system learns this number. When you approach it, sometimes hosts are instructed to intervene with an offer. A small amount of free play, just enough to keep you in your seat past your normal stop point. You accept $20 in free play, lose it immediately because free play doesn't change the odds. Then you dip into your own money again because you're already past your limit and feeling desperate to recover. I'm not telling you to never use a Players Club card. The comps can have real value if you're gambling anyway, but understand what you're trading. You're giving the casino detailed intelligence about your habits, your weaknesses, and your spending patterns. They use this information to optimize their profit from your play. Every time you insert that card, you're helping them build a profile to exploit. If you're going to use your card, at least understand which machines the casino is pushing your tier toward and make a conscious decision to avoid them. Look for games off the beaten path. Play denominations or themes that don't match your profile. Break their algorithms' expectations. And for heaven's sake, don't chase tier status. The points aren't worth what you'll lose earning them. Play for entertainment if you must play, but don't play to feed a rewards program designed to extract maximum revenue from players exactly like you. Number 18, sound design manipulation. Close your eyes in a casino and just listen for a minute. Bells ringing, chimes dinging, music swelling, celebratory jingles firing off every few seconds. It sounds like everyone's winning. Open your eyes and look at the truth. Most of those people are losing money. What you're hearing is one of the casino's most effective weapons. Strategic sound design built to manipulate your emotions and distort your perception of reality. Modern slot machines are programmed with hundreds of audio cues, and almost none of them are accidental. Every sound has been tested, refined, and implemented to produce specific psychological responses. The most deceptive trick? Winning sounds that play on losing spins. Let me explain exactly how this works. You spin the reels. You land 3 symbols that pay back 40 cents on your $1 bet. You just lost 60 cents. But the machine erupts in celebration. Music plays, coins clink. Even though the machine hasn't used actual coins in 20 years, lights flash around your credit total. Your brain hears winning sounds and releases a little hit of dopamine. You feel good despite losing money. This is called losses disguised as wins in industry research, and it's completely legal. Casinos know that if machines only made noise during actual profitable wins, you'd realize how rarely you're coming out ahead. So they program celebrations for any symbol combination that pays something, even if that something is less than your bet. The psychological impact is measurable. Players stay longer, bet more frequently, and report higher satisfaction even when they're losing. The sounds literally trick your brain into enjoying the experience of losing money. Here's another sound manipulation you need to recognize. Volume modulation during play. Sit down at a machine and make minimum bets. The sounds are moderate. Increase your bet to maximum, and suddenly everything gets louder. Bigger wins trigger longer audio sequences. The machine is training you to associate higher bets with more excitement. You're not winning more frequently at max bet. The math doesn't change, but the audio reward makes it feel more thrilling. So you're incentivized to bet more than you planned. I worked with a sound engineer who designed audio packages for slot manufacturers. He explained their testing process. They'd bring in focus groups. You show them the same slot results with different sound profiles and measure emotional responses. The goal was always the same. Make losing feel less painful and make any win, no matter how small, feel significant. The sound profiles that best accomplished this got installed on thousands of machines. Here's something most players never notice. The sounds change based on time of day and casino zones. During peak hours when the floor is crowded, machines in high-traffic areas get louder. The casino wants that area to sound exciting to draw more players in. During slow periods, particularly early morning, volumes decrease. They don't want to disturb the handful of serious players who showed up at 6 a.m. But walk past those quiet machines and you might assume they're cold or unlucky. Really, they're just running a different audio profile. And pay attention to the music that plays during bonus rounds. It's always up-tempo, energetic, designed to spike your heart rate and make you feel urgent excitement. This isn't entertainment, it's manipulation. They want your decision-making impaired by adrenaline. When you're excited and your pulse is elevated, you're more likely to make impulsive choices, like immediately betting your bonus winnings instead of cashing out. Some machines use what I call the anticipation crescendo. As the reels slow down, the music builds. You've got 2 symbols for a big win, the third reel is still spinning, and the audio is climbing toward a climax. Your brain is flooded with anticipation. Then the third symbol lands 1 position away from winning. The music cuts off abruptly. That sudden silence triggers disappointment, but here's the trap. You immediately want to feel that anticipation build again, so you spin faster to recreate the emotional journey. Let me tell you about the most insidious sound design I ever encountered. Machines programmed with near-miss audio enhancement. When you almost hit a big combination, like 2 jackpot symbols with the third just off the pay line, the machine plays a special frustrated sound. Not quite a win, not quite a loss. Something that registers as maybe next time. This sound pattern has been proven to increase bet frequency because it makes players feel close to winning, even though near misses have 0 predictive value for future spins. Casinos also use ambient soundscapes to affect your play. Walk into a high-limit room and notice how the overall audio environment changes. Fewer machines, more space between them, lower volumes. This creates an atmosphere of sophistication and control. It makes you feel like a serious player making calculated decisions. Meanwhile, the penny slot section is a wall of overlapping sounds designed to create excitement and urgency. Different environments, different audio strategies, same goal. Keep you playing longer than you intended. Here's what you can do to protect yourself from sound manipulation. Bring headphones, play your own music, or listen to podcasts. Break the casino's audio control over your emotional state. You'll immediately notice how different the experience feels when you're not being bombarded with celebration sounds for losses. You'll see more clearly how often you're actually losing. Or do this experiment. Mute your machine if it has that option. Some games allow it in settings. Play 50 spins with sound, then 50 spins muted. Track your emotions and your betting patterns. Most people bet more conservatively without audio feedback because they're not getting those fake positive reinforcement signals. The silence makes the math visible. You see credits decreasing without emotional buffer. Sound design in casinos is a science backed by millions in research and decades of psychological testing. Every ding, every chime, every musical flourish is there to separate you from your money more efficiently. The machines don't need to make noise to function. They make noise to manipulate you. Understanding this doesn't make you immune, but it helps. Next time you hear winning sounds, check your credit total. Make sure you actually won, because there's a very good chance that celebration you're hearing is for the casino's win, not yours. Number 17, the speed setting. Secret time is money. Casinos understand this better than anyone. The faster you play, the more hands or spins you complete per hour, the more opportunities the house edge has to work against you. This is why slot machine speed settings are one of the most underappreciated dangers on the casino floor, and most players don't even realize they're being accelerated into bigger losses. Modern video slots can process a spin in under 2 seconds if you let them. Button press to result to ready for next spin. 2 seconds. At that pace, you're running 30 spins per minute, 1,800 spins per hour. If you're betting $1 per spin, that's $1,800 in total wagers every single hour. Even on a machine returning 94%, you're statistically losing over $100 per hour. Speed is devastating to your bankroll. Casinos know this, which is why they've designed machines to encourage faster play. The most obvious culprit is autoplay. You set a number of spins, press start, and the machine runs continuously without requiring any input from you. No thinking, no pausing, no time to reconsider. Just automated betting at maximum possible speed. Let me tell you what happens when players use autoplay. They disconnect from the action. Watching spins blur past creates a hypnotic effect. You're not engaged with each individual result anymore. You're just watching numbers change. This psychological distance makes it easier to ignore losses. I've watched people run 200 autoplay spins, lose $400 in 8 minutes, and barely react because the losses didn't feel real. They happened too fast to process emotionally. Here's what's truly predatory about autoplay. The feature includes settings for loss limits and win goals, which sounds responsible. Set it to stop after losing $100 or after winning $50. Except the machine often defaults these limits to much higher numbers than casual players should be using. You think you set a reasonable limit, but you actually left it at the default of $1,000 because you didn't notice. The autoplay runs until you're down $1,000, and you weren't paying close enough attention to realize what limit you'd actually confirmed. Even without autoplay, machines are designed for speed. Quick spin buttons that bypass the real animation and show results instantly. It or bet repeat functions so you don't have to select your wager each time. Max bet buttons that lock in the highest possible wager with a single press. Every interface choice is optimized to reduce the time between spins. I'll tell you exactly why this matters. Slot machines are negative expectation games. Over time, you will lose. The only question is how much and how fast. When you slow down your play, you reduce the number of bets you make per session. Fewer bets means less total money at risk. You might play for 3 hours and run 400 spins instead of 1,000. Same entertainment time, significantly less financial damage. But casinos don't want you playing slowly. Slow players are bad for business. So they engineer every aspect of the machine to push tempo. The way buttons light up when ready, the urgent music that plays during features, the immediate availability of the next spin. It all creates pressure to keep going without pause. Here's a specific trick I've seen work against countless players: turbo mode or slam stop features. These let you stop the reels instantly instead of waiting for them to spin out naturally. Sounds convenient, right? You're not changing the result. The RNG already determined the outcome before the reels started moving. So why not skip the animation? Because that animation time is your mental buffer. Those 3 seconds of anticipation are when your brain processes the last result and considers whether to continue. Eliminate that gap and you eliminate conscious decision-making. You're just mashing buttons on autopilot. Speed also affects how you perceive wins and losses. A slow-paced session where you carefully consider each spin makes wins feel more meaningful and losses more noticeable. You're present for every outcome. Fast play blurs it all together. You remember the highlights, the bonus rounds, the big wins, but the hundreds of small losses in between disappear into noise. Your recollection of the session becomes distorted. You remember winning more often than you actually did because the losses happened too quickly to stick in memory. Let me give you practical advice on controlling speed. Never use autoplay. I don't care how convenient it seems. Every spin should require a deliberate action from you. This keeps you engaged and aware. Second, don't use quick spin or turbo features. Let the reels play out naturally. Use that time to think about whether you're still enjoying yourself or whether you're chasing losses. Third, take breaks. Set a timer on your phone. Every 20 minutes, stand up, walk around, give yourself distance from the machine. Here's another speed trap most people miss. Buy a bonus features. These are options on some machines where you can pay a premium, usually 50 to 100 times your base bet, to trigger the bonus round immediately. You're not improving your odds, you're just accelerating access to the feature. But that acceleration comes at a massive cost. You're compressing what might normally take 100 spins of gradual betting into a single expensive purchase. The speed of that transaction, the immediacy of it, makes it feel different from regular betting. It's not different. You just spend $100 in 1 second instead of over 15 minutes. The house edge is the same or worse. The casino makes more money from fast players than from any other type. It's not about how much you bet per spin. It's about how many spins you complete in your available time. A player betting 50 cents per spin at high speed will lose more than a player betting $2 per spin at a relaxed pace. Volume matters more than denomination when it comes to casino profit. Control your speed and you control your losses. It's that simple. Treat each spin as an individual decision. Don't let the machine rush you. Don't let the environment pressure you into faster play, and absolutely do not use features designed to automate or accelerate betting. The casino has enough advantages. Don't give them the additional edge of your own impatience. Number 16, pay table variations. You miswalk down a row of slot machines and you'll see the same game repeated 5 or 6 times. Same theme, same graphics, same sounds. Most players assume these are identical machines offering identical odds. That assumption costs you money because casinos regularly install what look like duplicate games with completely different pay tables. You're playing the same game as the person 2 seats over, but your version pays significantly worse. This practice is legal and widespread. Slot manufacturers offer the same game in multiple configurations. They'll produce a version that returns 96% to players and another version of the exact same game that returns 92%. Same reels, same symbols, same bonus rounds. The only difference is the internal math model. Casinos can order whichever version they want, and they often order multiple versions to place side by side on the floor. Here's why they do this. Different jurisdictions have different minimum payout requirements. But even within legal limits, casinos use pay-table variations to maximize profit while maintaining the appearance of player choice. They'll put a loose version, the higher-paying model, in a visible spot to attract players. Then they surround it with tight versions. You see someone winning on that game, you sit down at what looks like the same machine, but you're actually on a version programmed to hold more money. Let me tell you how to spot these variations. Every slot machine has a help or info button that displays the pay-table. This shows what each symbol combination pays relative to your bet. Most players never look at this. They assume the flashy graphics on the top screen tell them everything they need to know. Wrong. You need to compare pay-tables between machines that appear identical. Here's a real example. A popular Buffalo-themed slot game exists in at least 4 different payout configurations. The highest paying version awards 1,000 credits for 5 Buffalo symbols on a single credit bet. The tightest version pays 800 credits for the same combination. That's a 20% reduction in top-line payout, and similar reductions cascade through the rest of the payable. Over hundreds of spins, this difference is enormous. The truly sneaky part is how casinos disguise these variations. They don't put up signs saying this is the low payout version. The machines are visually identical. Same cabinet, same attract mode video, same everything except the math. You have to manually check the payable on each machine to know what you're playing. Some manufacturers make this even more confusing by offering regional variations. A game popular in Las Vegas might have different standard paytables than the same game in Atlantic City or on tribal land. If you played a game in one location and liked it, then found the same game somewhere else, you might be playing a worse version without realizing it. Your positive experience doesn't transfer because the game fundamentally changed. Here's another variation trick. Progressive jackpot resets. 2 machines offering the same progressive might have different reset amounts after someone hits. One resets to $10,000, another resets to $5,000. The higher reset amount suggests better long-term value, but casinos don't advertise which is which. You have to ask or watch the progressive over time to learn its reset point. Denomination also affects paytables in ways most players don't understand. The penny version of a game often has a worse paytable than the quarter version of the same game. Not just proportionally worse because you're betting less. Actually worse as a percentage of return to player. Casinos know penny players are usually more casual, less informed, less likely to compare paytables, so they can get away with tighter settings on lower denominations. Let me give you a specific warning about linked games. Sometimes you'll see a bank of 6 or 8 machines all connected to the same bonus or progressive. Players assume these machines are identical since they share features, not necessarily true. The base pay tables can differ between machines in the same bank. The shared progressive is the same, but the underlying game math might vary. You could be sitting at the worst paying machine in a linked group and never know it unless you check. Here's what you need to do before playing any machine. Press the help button. Review the paytable carefully. If you're familiar with the game, compare it to your memory of paytables from other casinos or other machines. If you're new to the game, check multiple machines on the floor that appear identical. Look for differences in payouts for major symbol combinations. If you find variations, play the version with the highest payouts. Combined, this takes 3 minutes of research that can save you hundreds of dollars. Some newer machines display the return to player percentage in the help screens. Not all of them and not in all jurisdictions, but when this information is available, use it. A machine advertising 96.5% RTP is objectively better than one showing 92.8%. The higher number means more money returned to players over the machine's lifetime. You want the highest number you can find. Be especially careful with licensed brand games. These slots pay expensive fees to use popular TV shows, movies, or celebrities. The casino has to recoup those licensing costs somehow. They do it by ordering tighter payable configurations. That Game of Thrones or Walking Dead machine might look exciting, but there's a good chance it's set to one of the manufacturer's lowest return models. The brand attracts players, so the casino doesn't need competitive odds to fill the seats. One more thing about paytables. They can change over time on the same physical machine. Casinos have the ability to swap chipsets and reconfigure games during maintenance. A machine you played last month might have a different pay table today. This is less common because it requires regulatory approval and physical work, but it happens. Don't assume your favorite machine still offers the same odds it did on your last visit. Check every time. Paytable variations are one of the casino's quietest advantages. They don't announce them, they don't explain them, and they're counting on you not to notice. Take the time to compare and verify. The machine that looks identical to the one you're playing might pay 20% better. That's the difference between losing $100 in a session and losing $120. Over a year of regular play, these variations add up to thousands in additional losses. Don't let laziness or assumptions cost you that money. Number 15, the denomination's deception. Penny slots sound harmless. 1 cent per spin. How much damage could you possibly do? Let me tell you about a woman I watched lose $900 in 90 minutes on a penny machine. She sat down thinking she was being conservative, betting small, protecting her budget. By the time she realized what was happening, she'd burned through her entire planned gambling money for a 3-day trip. Penny slots are not what you think they are. Here's the reality of denominations. That penny machine isn't asking for 1 cent per spin. It's asking for 1 cent per line per credit. Most video penny slots have 40 or 50 pay lines. Then there's bet multiplier, usually defaulted to 2 or 3 credits per line. So your innocent penny slot is actually charging you $1 or more per spin. You put a $100 bill in this machine, you see 10,000 credits, and you think you're rich. 20 minutes later, you're wondering where all those credits went. Casinos designed this confusion deliberately. They moved away from physical coins decades ago, switching to credit-based systems specifically to obscure the real cost of playing. When you were putting quarters into a machine, you felt every coin. You knew exactly how much you were spending. Credits are abstract. They don't feel like real money until they're gone. Let me break down exactly how the denominations deception works. The casino advertises penny slots in huge letters on signs throughout the property. Penny slots this way, penny slot tournament tonight. They're selling you the idea of low-risk gambling. Then you sit down and the machine defaults to maximum lines and elevated bet multipliers. You're not playing pennies, you're playing dollars. But the sign said pennies, so psychologically you believe you're betting small. Here's the comparison that should shock you. A quarter slot where you bet 1 coin per spin costs 25 cents. That's transparent. But a penny slot with 50 lines and a 2-credit bet costs $1. 4 times more expensive than the quarter machine, but it's marketed as the cheaper option. The denomination is technically accurate. It is a penny per line. But the total cost per spin is hidden behind multiplication. Now, let me tell you about max bet requirements. Some machines, particularly progressives, won't award their top jackpot unless you're betting maximum lines and maximum credits. The game lets you lower your bet, but doing so disqualifies you from the biggest prizes. Most players don't notice this restriction until after they've been playing at reduced bets for an hour. Or worse, they hit symbols for the big jackpot and discover they don't actually qualify because they weren't maxed out. Casinos place signage on machines explaining max bet requirements, but it's small and easy to miss. They're legally covered. You had access to the information, but they know most players won't read it, and they're counting on you to either bet max, which drains your bankroll faster, or bet less and give up your chance at meaningful wins. Either outcome benefits the house. Here's another denominations trick. Multi-denominational machines that remember your last setting. You played dollars last week, cashed out, walked away. This week you return thinking you'll play quarters to be more conservative. You sit down, you start spinning, and the machine is still on dollars from before. Your first spin cost you $10 instead of the $2.50 you expected. I've seen players make this mistake dozens of times. The denomination selector is usually tucked in a menu or controlled by buttons that aren't prominently labeled. It's not hard to change, but it's just inconvenient enough that many players don't bother checking. They assume the machine resets to its lowest denomination when idle. It doesn't. It stays where the last player left it, and that last player might have been a high roller betting hundreds per spin. Let me explain why penny slots are often the worst value on the floor, despite being marketed as beginner-friendly. Casinos can set lower payout percentages on penny games because players perceive them as low risk. You're less likely to research return-to-player rates on a penny machine than on a $5 machine. So casinos take advantage of that casual attitude by configuring penny games with tighter holds. You might be playing a game returning 90% when the dollar version of the same game in the high-limit room returns 96%. The penny denomination also encourages longer play sessions. You think you can afford to play for hours because it's just pennies. But at $1 per spin, you're going through $60 an hour on modest-paced play. That's not penny stakes. That's real money leaving your account, but the denomination label tricks you into thinking it's not serious gambling. Here's what you need to do before every session. Look at the total bet display, not the denomination. Most machines show your total wager somewhere on screen, usually in the corner. If it says total bet 100 credits and you're on a penny machine, that's $1. If it says 500 credits, that's $5. Know your actual cost per spin in real currency, not in credits or denominations. Second, understand the difference between lines and coins. Lines are how many pay lines you're activating. Coins or credits are your bet multiplier per line. Some machines let you adjust these independently. Play around with settings before you commit real money. Find a combination that matches your actual budget, not the budget you thought you had based on the denomination sign. Third, be extremely suspicious of any machine advertising pennies, nickels, or other small denominations. These are almost never as cheap as they sound. They're value traps designed to attract budget-conscious players and then extract maximum money through complexity and confusion. If you want to bet conservatively, find a single-line game where one credit equals one spin. These are increasingly rare, which should tell you something about what casinos prefer you to play. The absolute worst denomination deception is the bet selector that shows you options like bet 1, bet 5, bet 10, without clearly indicating what that means in actual money. Bet 10, what? 10 cents? $10? The machine knows, but it's not making it obvious. You have to dig into settings or watch your credit total after a spin to reverse engineer the real cost. I'm going to be blunt with you. Penny slots are a scam. Not an illegal scam, everything is disclosed if you know where to look. But a psychological scam designed to make you think you're gambling small when you're actually gambling big. The denomination is a lie wrapped in a technicality. If you're going to play slots, at least understand what you're actually betting. Don't let the casino's marketing about penny this and nickel that fool you into spending 10 times more than you intended. Number 14, progressive jackpot positioning. Progressive jackpots are the dream. That counter climbing into 6 or 7 figures, the possibility of a life-changing win on a single spin. Casinos plaster these numbers everywhere because they know the allure is irresistible. What they don't tell you is how they position progressive machines to maximize their profit while minimizing your realistic chance of actually winning that advertised amount. Let me start with the most important thing you need to understand about progressives. The size of the jackpot has almost nothing to do with whether that machine is about to hit. A progressive that's climbed to $2 million is not more likely to pay out than one sitting at $400,000. The random number generator doesn't care what the jackpot amount is. It's going to hit when it hits, whether that's at the minimum reset amount or after climbing for 6 months. But casinos position these machines knowing that players think differently. They know you look at that big number and feel urgency. You think it has to hit soon because it's gotten so high. So where do they put the progressives with the biggest, most eye-catching jackpots? Right in the main walkways. Right where you can't miss them. Right where you'll make an impulsive decision to sit down because the number looks too good to pass up. Here's what's actually happening with those highly visible progressives. They're usually wide area progressives linked across multiple casinos, sometimes across an entire state or region. The jackpot is big because thousands of machines are feeding it. And your individual machine represents a tiny fraction of the total action contributing to that meter. Your realistic odds of hitting it are astronomically small. We're talking lottery ticket odds, millions to 1 against you. Meanwhile, the casino has positioned smaller standalone progressives in less obvious locations. These might only climb to $20,000 or $30,000, which sounds insignificant compared to the $2 million monster in the main aisle. But your odds of hitting a standalone progressive are dramatically better because it's just your machine or maybe a small bank of linked machines. Fewer players competing for the same prize means better realistic chances. I watched a slots director explain this exact strategy in a meeting. Put the huge progressives in premium locations to create excitement and draw traffic. Put the hittable progressives in secondary locations to reward players who explore the floor. The casual player chases the $1 million dream and loses. The informed player finds the $30,000 opportunity and occasionally wins. Here's another positioning trick with the progressives. Casinos often place them next to non-progressive versions of the same game. Same theme, same reels, same graphics. The only difference is one has a progressive jackpot and one doesn't. The progressive version always has a worse base payable. Always. The money feeding that progressive meter has to come from somewhere, and it comes from reduced payouts on regular wins. So you sit down at the progressive thinking you're getting the same game plus a bonus jackpot opportunity. Actually, you're playing a tighter version of the game with lower returns on standard wins, And you're paying for that privilege with every spin. Unless you hit the progressive, which again is extremely unlikely, you're better off playing the non-progressive version next to it. But the casino positioned them together, knowing you'll choose the progressive because the jackpot meter is hypnotic. Let me tell you about meter rise rates. This is how fast the progressive jackpot climbs based on bets. Wide area progressives might only allocate 2 or 3% of each bet to the meter. The rest goes to the casino and to base game payouts. Standalone progressives often allocate 5 to 10%. This means standalone progressives grow faster relative to the money being bet, which also means they're programmed to hit more frequently to prevent the jackpot from growing too large for the casino's liability comfort. You can use this information strategically. Find progressives that rise quickly. These are more likely to be standalone or small area links. Check the meter over several visits. If it's climbing noticeably each time you see it, that's a progressive getting real action from real players. And the math suggests it'll hit more often than the massive wide area jackpot that barely moves despite hundreds of players feeding it. Here's a warning about mystery progressives. These are jackpots that must hit by a certain amount. The meter might say must hit by $5,000, and the current value is $4,800. And it looks tempting, right? Only $200 away from a guaranteed hit. What casinos don't advertise is that everyone else knows this too. As the progressive approaches its must-hit amount, the machine fills with players camping out. Your competition multiplies right when the jackpot becomes most valuable. I've watched fights nearly break out over must-hit progressives close to their cap. Players hovering, waiting for someone to leave, rushing to grab the seat. The casino loves this because all those players pumping money into machines hoping to be the one who's there when it hits. Meanwhile, the random number generator determines the exact hit point anywhere within the range. It might hit at $4,805 or at $4,999. Being there at $4,800 doesn't give you better odds than the person who sits down at $4,950. Casinos also reset progressives at different amounts based on location. The same game might reset to $10,000 in one casino and $5,000 in another. Higher reset amounts mean better long-term value because you're never playing for less than that amount. But casinos don't post reset values. You have to watch machines over time or ask employees who often don't actually know. Here's my advice on progressives. If you're going to play them, avoid the massive wide area jackpots unless you're literally just buying a lottery ticket for entertainment. Those life-changing amounts are mathematically unlikely to hit for you specifically. Instead, look for standalone or small bank progressives in out-of-the-way locations. Check their meter rise rates. Play progressives that have climbed significantly above their reset amount, because at least you know the jackpot has real value built up. And for heaven's sake, don't fall for the positioning trap. That giant progressive in the center of the casino floor is not there for your benefit. It's there to attract your attention and your money. The casino knows you'll see that big number and make an emotional decision instead of a mathematical one. They're counting on it. Don't give them what they want. Number 13, the must-hit buy manipulation. Must-hit buy progressives seem like the fairest game in the casino. The jackpot has to pay out before reaching a specific amount. No mystery, no waiting for astronomical odds, just a guaranteed ceiling where someone wins. Casinos market these as player-friendly alternatives to traditional progressives. What they don't mention is how they've engineered must-hit buy games to maximize profit while creating the illusion of opportunity. Let me explain how these progressives actually work. The system randomly selects a hit point anywhere between the reset amount and the must-hit buy cap. Say the progressive resets at $1,000 and must hit by $5,000. The computer might determine this particular cycle will hit at $3,217 or $4,803. The exact amount is chosen when the progressive resets, and nothing you do changes it. Here's the manipulation. Casinos set the must-hit buy cap at amounts designed to create urgency without offering real value. They'll advertise a must-hit by 500 progressive right next to a must-hit by 5,000. The smaller one hits frequently, sometimes multiple times per day, which creates excitement and the appearance that these progressives pay out regularly. Players see jackpot winner announcements and think they have a realistic shot. But watch what happens with the $500 must-hit buy. It resets at $100, so the actual range is only $400. The average hit point is around 300. You're probably not walking into the casino at the moment it's about to hit. You're more likely there when it's at 150 or 200. To get to the hit point, you and other players need to pump enough money into the machine to move the meter up another $100 or $200. Now, here's the critical part. The meter doesn't rise one-to-one with your bets. If you bet $100, the meter might only climb $3 or $4. The percentage allocated to the progressive is small. The rest goes to the house and base game pays. So to move a meter from $200 to $300, players collectively might need to wager $3,000 or more into that machine. The jackpot is $300, but the casino collected $3,000 to fund it. They're not losing money. They're extracting massive profit while making you feel like you're chasing a sure thing. I sat in on a presentation where a slot manufacturer pitched must-hit-buy games to casino management. Their selling point was player engagement without increased liability. The must-hit-buy cap creates urgency that keeps players seated longer, but the actual math ensures the casino profits significantly before the jackpot pays. It's a psychological hook disguised as a player advantage. Here's another manipulation with must-hit-buy progressives. Casinos often place them on machines with terrible base pay tables. You're so focused on the progressive meter that you don't notice the underlying game is paying poorly on regular spins. Every spin that doesn't hit the progressive is losing you money faster than a non-progressive version of the same game would. Let me give you a specific scenario I witnessed repeatedly. A must-hit by 500 progressive sits at $475. Players see it's only $25 away from the cap and assume it's about to hit. They camp on that machine, feeding it money, convinced they're there at the right time. What they don't realize is the predetermined hit point might be $476, or it might be $499. Being close to the cap doesn't mean being close to the hit point. I watched one man sit at a must-hit buy for 4 hours because it was within $50 of the cap. He lost $800 waiting for a jackpot that finally hit at $497. He won $497, but lost $800 getting there. A net loss of over $300, but he walked away feeling like a winner because he got the jackpot. The casino absolutely destroyed him, but the must-hit-buy structure made him feel victorious. Casinos also use must-hit-buy progressives to draw players to specific machines or areas. They'll put a must-hit buy on a game that's performing poorly. The progressive draws attention and play that the base game couldn't attract on its own. Once you're seated and invested in chasing the progressive, you're stuck playing a bad game in a bad location because you've convinced yourself you're close to winning. Here's the thing about must-hit buy amounts that most players never consider. A must-hit by 5,000 progressive sounds substantial, but if the reset is at 1,000, the range is $4,000. The meter rise percentage might be 2% of coin in. That means players need to wager $200,000 collectively to move the meter from bottom to top. Even if you're there when it hits, you're one of dozens or hundreds of players who contributed to that meter. Your individual investment might be $2,000 or $3,000 for a jackpot that pays $5,000. Is that really a good deal? Compare this to a traditional progressive without a must-hit buy cap. Those progressives often allocate higher percentages to the meter because there's no ceiling creating artificial urgency. A traditional progressive might put 5 or 6% of coin in toward the jackpot. The meter rises faster, and while there's no guarantee it hits by a certain amount, the overall return to players can actually be better because more of each bet goes to the prize pool. Let me tell you what to watch for with must-hit buy progressives. Check the meter rise rate by making a few small bets and seeing how much the jackpot increases. If you bet $10 and the meter barely moves, that's a terrible allocation percentage. Walk away. Find a must-hit buy that rises noticeably because that indicates more of your money is going toward the jackpot instead of pure house profit. Also, calculate the gap. Where is the progressive now versus where it must hit? If the gap is more than 20% of the must-hit buy cap, you're early in the cycle. The predetermined hit point could be anywhere in a wide range. Your odds aren't better just because the progressive exists. If the gap is less than 5%, you're competing with every other player who notices how close it is. Neither scenario is ideal. Here's my honest advice. must-hit buy progressives are marketing gimmicks that prey on your sense of mathematical certainty. Yes, the jackpot will definitely hit by the advertised amount, but that guarantee doesn't help you unless you're the specific person sitting there at the exact moment the predetermined hit point is reached. And the amount of money you'll spend chasing that moment usually exceeds the value of the jackpot itself. If you play must-hit buy progressives, treat them like entertainment, not opportunity. Don't camp on them. Don't increase your bets to move the meter faster. Don't fall for the urgency created by a meter approaching its cap. The casino engineered that urgency specifically to extract more money from you. And play casually, and if you happen to hit one, great. But don't make these progressives the focus of your gambling strategy, because the strategy is designed by the casino to beat you. Number 12, ticket out paper quality. This might sound like the smallest detail on this entire list, but I'm going to tell you why faded, poor quality ticket printouts are a major red flag that you're playing a machine the casino has essentially abandoned. When a slot machine prints tickets that are barely readable with a washed out text and smudged barcodes, that's not just a cosmetic issue. It's a symptom of neglect that tells you everything about how that machine is maintained and probably how it's programmed. Modern slot machines use thermal printers for ticket and ticket out systems. These printers have paper rolls and print heads that need regular replacement. A well-maintained machine prints crisp, clear tickets every time. When tickets start coming out faded or streaked, it means the printer hasn't been serviced recently. The print head is wearing out, the paper is old, or both. Here's why this matters beyond just readability. Casinos operate on strict maintenance schedules for their profitable machines. High-performing slots that generate significant revenue get checked constantly. Techs replace printer components, clean sensors, update software, verify payout percentages. These machines are assets the casino monitors closely. Low-performing machines get minimal attention. If the printer still technically works, even if it produces terrible tickets, it stays in service until something actually breaks. When you see a machine printing poor quality tickets, you're looking at a machine the casino doesn't prioritize. And why don't they prioritize it? Because it's not making them enough money. And why isn't it making money? Usually because players have learned to avoid it, often because it's set to a tighter hold percentage. Let me give you a specific example from my experience. We had a bank of 20 machines along a back wall. 18 of them were regularly maintained with weekly service calls. 2 of them tucked in the corner only got attention when someone reported a malfunction. Those 2 machines had noticeably worse ticket print quality. Players rarely sat at them. When I checked the performance reports, those 2 machines had the lowest return-to-player percentages in the entire bank. Not coincidentally, they also had the highest malfunction rates and the worst maintenance records. Here's another thing about ticket quality. When printers start failing, it's not just about faded text. Tickets can jam, print incorrectly, or show wrong amounts. Every time this happens, you have to call an attendant. That interrupts your play, kills your momentum, and creates frustration. Some players get so annoyed, they cash out and leave. Others stick around, but they're playing angry, making worse decisions. The casino isn't deliberately sabotaging ticket printers. They're just allocating resources where they get the best return. Premium machines in high-traffic areas get immediate attention for any issue. Forgotten machines in low-traffic corners get added to a maintenance queue that might not be addressed for days or weeks. By the time a tech services that printer, it's been producing terrible tickets for who knows how long. I'm going to tell you something else about those terrible tickets. Sometimes they won't scan properly at the cage or at other machines. The barcode is too faded or smudged for readers to process. You walk up to cash out, and the cashier has to manually verify your ticket. This takes extra time and sometimes requires supervisor approval. Meanwhile, you're standing there feeling embarrassed and worried they think you're trying to scam them with a fake ticket. Or worse, you try to insert your faded ticket into another machine to continue playing, and it gets rejected. The machine pulls it in, can't read it, and spits it back out. After 3 or 4 failed attempts, you have to go to the cashier anyway. All of this is unnecessary friction created by poor maintenance on the machine that printed your ticket. Here's the test you should run. Before sitting down at any machine, look at the ticket out slot. Some machines have clear plastic windows where you can see if there's paper loaded. If the paper looks yellowed or old, that's a warning sign. Better yet, watch someone else cash out from that machine if possible. Check the quality of their printed ticket. If it looks faded or unclear, choose a different machine. You can also do a small test bet yourself. Put in $20, play one spin, cash out immediately, and examine the ticket. If it prints clearly with sharp text and a crisp barcode, the machine is probably well maintained. If it prints faded or streaky, take your ticket to the cage and pick a different machine. You just spent one bet to avoid potentially sitting at a neglected game. Some players think I'm being paranoid about printer quality. They say it's just a printer, it doesn't affect the random number generator. They're missing the point. The printer quality isn't directly connected to RNG programming, but both the printer condition and the RNG settings are results of how the casino manages that machine. Well-maintained machines get attention across the board, including optimal payout configurations. Neglected machines get ignored across the board, including tighter hold percentages that don't get adjusted when corporate sends updates. Let me be clear about what I'm saying. A faded ticket doesn't prove the machine is rigged or malfunctioning. Slot machines are heavily regulated, and the RNG works regardless of printer quality. But the faded ticket is an indicator of the casino's attention to that machine. It's a visible symptom of neglect. And neglected machines are more likely to have outdated configurations that don't favor players. Think of it like finding a restaurant bathroom that's dirty. The dirty bathroom doesn't mean the food will make you sick, but it suggests the restaurant isn't paying attention to details, and that makes you wonder what else they're neglecting. A machine with a failing printer suggests the casino isn't paying attention to that machine's overall performance and maintenance. Here's what I recommend. Make ticket print quality part of your pre-play evaluation. Look for machines that print clearly, respond smoothly to inputs, and show signs of regular care. Avoid machines with faded tickets, sticky buttons, smudged screens, or other maintenance issues. These small details tell you which machines matter to the casino and which ones they've given up on. Play the machines that matter, because those are the ones most likely to have competitive payout settings. Leave the neglected machines for players who don't know better. Number 11, error message frequency. You sit down, start playing, and 15 minutes in the machine freezes with an error message. Call attendant. You wait 5 minutes for someone to arrive, they reset the machine, you continue playing. 20 minutes later, another error. This pattern should be an immediate signal to cash out and walk away. But most players stick around thinking they're just experiencing bad luck with a glitchy machine. What you're actually experiencing is a machine that's failing in multiple ways, and those failures correlate with poor performance. Let me explain what error messages really mean. Modern slot machines are computers running complex software. They're designed to operate for thousands of hours without interruption. When a machine starts throwing frequent errors, it indicates hardware degradation on a software conflict, or both. These aren't random glitches. They're symptoms of systemic problems. Casinos know which machines malfunction frequently because their monitoring systems track every error. A machine that generates multiple errors per day gets flagged in their management software. But here's the thing. Unless that machine is a high-revenue producer, it doesn't get immediate attention. It gets added to a repair queue. Meanwhile, it stays on the floor, accepting your money, malfunctioning regularly, and providing a substandard experience. Why would a casino leave a malfunctioning machine on the floor? Because even with errors, it's still taking in money. Every minute that machine is operational, even if it's interrupting play with errors, it's generating revenue. And taking it offline for repairs means zero revenue from that floor space. So unless the malfunction prevents the machine from accepting bets entirely, it stays in service. Here's what this means for you. You're playing a machine that the casino knows is problematic but hasn't prioritized for repair. That tells you the machine isn't valuable enough to warrant immediate maintenance. And machines that aren't valuable to the casino are usually machines that aren't paying well enough to attract consistent play. Let me tell you about the specific errors to watch for. Anything involving the bill validator or ticket printer is a mechanical issue that affects how money goes in and out. These errors are inconvenient, but they don't necessarily indicate poor payout performance. However, errors involving the game itself, things like real malfunction, bonus round failure, or credit display freezing, these suggest problems with the core software. When core software starts failing, the entire machine's reliability is questionable. I worked with a tech who explained that slot machine software can develop corruption over time. The constant read-write cycles, the power fluctuations, the environmental factors, all of this stresses the system. A well-maintained machine gets regular software updates and integrity checks. A neglected machine runs corrupted code until something breaks badly enough to force intervention. Now, I'm not saying the RNG itself gets corrupted. Gaming regulations require verification and testing that would catch RNG failures. But the systems around the RNG, the ones that display results, trigger bonuses, calculate payouts, these can malfunction. When they do, you experience errors, and frequent errors create a terrible playing experience that should drive you away from that machine. Here's a specific pattern I noticed over years of watching error-prone machines. They tend to error out more frequently during bonus rounds or after significant wins. This isn't conspiracy. It's because bonus rounds and big wins require more complex calculations and animations. If the software is already stressed or corrupted, these demanding processes push it over the edge into failure. Imagine hitting a bonus round, getting halfway through your free spins, and the machine errors out. An attendant comes, resets the machine, and you restart the bonus. Except now you've lost momentum, you're frustrated, and the psychological impact of the win is diminished. Even if you complete the bonus and win money, the experience was tainted. The casino didn't intentionally ruin your bonus, but their negligent maintenance led to the same result. Let me tell you what should be your absolute walkaway threshold. If a machine errors out twice in one session, leave. Don't wait for the third error. 2 errors indicate an unstable machine that hasn't been properly serviced. Your time and money are better spent on a reliable machine that operates smoothly. Some players think frequent errors might actually indicate a loose machine that's paying out so much it's breaking. This is wishful thinking. Errors are not caused by a machine's paying winners. They're caused by failing hardware and software. A machine that pays frequently without erroring is well-maintained and configured competitively. A machine that errors frequently regardless of payout is simply broken. Here's another consideration with error-prone machines. Every time you call an attendant for a reset, you're creating a record. The casino tracks attendant calls. A machine requiring multiple service calls per day gets flagged. Eventually, it'll be taken offline for repair or replacement. But until that happens, you're the guinea pig playing a machine the casino already knows is problematic. Pay attention to how casino employees react when you report an error. If the attendant seems unsurprised or mentions that this machine has been acting up, that's confirmation you're on a known problem machine. A good attendant might even quietly suggest you try a different game. Take that advice. They're seeing the error logs, and they know which machines are reliable and which aren't. I'll give you one more warning about errors. Some machines will error out and then, after reset, claim you have credits when you don't, or vice versa. This creates disputes that require supervisor intervention and review of surveillance footage. Even if you're completely honest and in the right, you're now stuck in a time-consuming process to verify what happened, all because you stayed on an error-prone machine instead of moving when you noticed problems. The smoothest running machines are the ones casinos care about most. They operate without errors, accept and pay out money cleanly, and provide consistent experiences. These are the machines getting regular maintenance and monitoring. When you find one, appreciate it. When you encounter an error-prone machine, recognize it as the neglected equipment it is and find something better. Your gambling budget is limited. Don't waste it on machines the casino has already given up on. Number 10, the celebration screen excess. You bet $1, you win 60 cents. And the machine erupts like you just won the lottery. Lights flashing across the screen, triumphant music blasting, animations of coins pouring out. Your total credits display pulsing and glowing. Everything about the machine is screaming that you're a winner, except you're not. You just lost 40 cents. This is celebration screen excess, and it's one of the most psychologically manipulative features in modern slot design. Let me explain exactly what casinos are doing here. They've engineered these celebration screens based on psychological research showing that sensory rewards trigger dopamine release in your brain. The same chemical response you'd get from actually winning money, you get from the lights and sounds and animations. Your brain starts associating the machine with positive feelings even when you're losing money. This is called a loss disguised as a win in gambling research. The technical result is a loss. You wagered more than you won back, but the machine celebrates it as if you hit something meaningful. Your logical brain might understand you lost, but your emotional brain is getting reward signals from the celebration. Over time, the emotional response overpowers the logical understanding, and you keep playing despite mounting losses. Here's why this is so effective. Humans are wired to respond to immediate feedback. When you do something and immediately get lights, sounds, and visual excitement, your brain marks that action as positive. It doesn't matter that your credit total went down. The celebration told your brain you did good. So you spin again, chasing that positive feedback, even though each celebration is often marking another small loss. Let me tell you how casinos calibrate these celebrations. They test different thresholds extensively. How big does a win need to be before triggering a major celebration? They found that celebrating anything above 30 or 40% return on bet is enough to create the desired psychological effect. You bet $2, you win 80 cents, the machine celebrates. You don't consciously think about the fact that you're down $1.20. You just feel the reward response from the celebration. Some machines take this even further with escalating celebrations. A small win gets a short jingle, a medium win gets animations and music. A larger win gets a full screen takeover with characters dancing or coins exploding. These escalating responses create a sense of progression and achievement. You're being trained to keep betting bigger to trigger better celebrations, even though the celebrations have nothing to do with actual profit. I watched a woman play a jungle-themed slot for 2 hours. Every time she won anything above a quarter of her bet back, the machine showed her animated monkeys swinging across the screen with victory music. She was smiling, laughing, clearly enjoying herself. I checked her credits over her shoulder a few times. She started with $200. After 2 hours of constant celebrations, she was down to $40. She never realized how much she'd lost because every few spins gave her positive reinforcement. Hey, here's another trick with celebration screens. Prolonged animations that delay your next bet. You hit a win, the celebration screen takes over, and you have to wait 15 or 20 seconds for the animation to complete before you can spin again. This seems player-friendly. It gives you a moment to enjoy your win. Actually, it's strategic pacing. The delay serves two purposes. First, it makes the win feel more significant because you had to wait for it. Anything that takes time feels more valuable. Second, it prevents you from immediately betting again in a peak emotional state. If you could bet instantly after a win, you might cash out or make a rational decision. The forced wait lets your excitement fade just enough that when you can finally spin again, you're calmer and more likely to continue playing instead of leaving with your win. Some machines even show you statistics during celebration screens. Total won the session, biggest win today, you're on a hot streak. These stats are carefully selected to emphasize positives while hiding negatives. They'll show you won $150 total, but not mention you've wagered $300 to get there. The selective information makes you feel more successful than you actually are. Let me tell you about the most manipulative celebration excess I've encountered. Machines that celebrate near misses. You almost hit a big combination, 2 symbols on the pay line and the third just above or below. The machine doesn't pay you anything, but it still gives you a mini celebration. Flashing lights, suspenseful music. Actually, maybe the symbols pulse or animate. You didn't win, but you got a reward response anyway for almost winning. This near-miss celebration is devastating to rational decision-making. Your brain interprets the almost win as progress. You feel like you're getting closer to a big payout. In reality, that near miss has exactly the same odds as any other losing combination. The symbols landing near the pay line instead of far from it means nothing. But the celebration makes it feel meaningful, so you keep playing, convinced you're close to something big. Casinos know exactly what they're doing with a celebration excess. They've A/B tested different animation styles, different sound levels, different celebration thresholds. They've used focus groups and biometric monitoring to measure player responses. Every element of these celebrations has been optimized to keep you playing longer and betting more. This isn't accidental design. It's weaponized psychology. Here's how to protect yourself from celebration screen manipulation. Ignore the celebrations entirely. I know that sounds difficult, but you need to train yourself to focus only on the math. Did your credit total go up or down? That's the only thing that matters. If your credits decreased, you lost, regardless of what the machine is showing you. Better yet, track your wins and losses manually. Keep a notepad or use your phone. Write down your starting credits, then check every 20 or 30 spins. Calculate your actual profit or loss. When you see the numbers in black and white, separated from the emotional manipulation of celebration screens, you'll recognize how often those celebrations are marking losses. Some players tell me they enjoy the celebrations, that it's part of the entertainment. Fine. If you're gambling purely for entertainment and you accept that you're paying for the experience, then enjoy the light show. But if you're gambling, hoping to profit, or if you're trying to manage a budget carefully, you cannot let celebration screens distort your perception of how you're actually performing. Remember this, every element of that celebration, the lights, the sounds, the animations, costs the slot manufacturer money to develop and implement. The casino pays licensing fees for branded celebration content. They're spending significant resources on these features. Why? Because celebrations work. They keep players seated longer and betting more than they would without the psychological manipulation. The celebration isn't for you. It's a tool being used against you. Recognize it for what it is and don't let it control your decisions. Number 9, legacy machine modifications. You recognize that old game from 15 years ago. Same cabinet, same artwork, same theme you remember from when you first started gambling. Nostalgia kicks in. You sit down thinking you know this machine. You've played it before, you understand how it works. What you don't realize is that machine has been gutted and rebuilt with completely different internals. And it looks like the game you remember, but it plays like something entirely different. Casinos do this constantly. They take popular legacy machines that players recognize and retrofit them with updated computer chips and software. The exterior stays the same for brand recognition and nostalgia appeal. The interior gets replaced with modern components that can be programmed to any payout percentage the casino desires. Let me explain why this is so common. Slot machine cabinets are expensive. The physical housing, the chair, the display panels, the wiring, all of this represents significant capital investment. But the computer brain inside that controls the game is relatively cheap and easy to replace. When a casino wants to update their floor or adjust payout percentages, it's more cost-effective to swap computer components than to buy entirely new machines. From the outside, you can't tell a machine has been modified. The manufacturer labels are still there, the game title is the same, the reels or video display look identical, but inside, the game math has completely changed. That machine you played in 2012 that seemed to hit bonuses frequently might now be running software from 2024 with half the bonus frequency and tighter base payouts. Here's how you can sometimes identify retrofitted machines. Look for small details that don't match your memory. The exact payouts for certain symbols might be different. The number of pay lines might have changed. The bonus round might trigger differently. These alterations indicate the machine has been reprogrammed, even if the theme and appearance stayed consistent. I worked at a casino when we did a major retrofit project. We had 40 legacy reel spinning machines that were 20 years old. The cabinets were in great shape and players loved the classic games. Oh, but the old computer boards were limiting our ability to network the machines and adjust configurations remotely. So we gutted every one of them and installed modern stepper motor controllers and updated software. The games looked identical. Same reels, same symbols, same glass artwork. But we changed the virtual reel mapping, which is how the computer determines which physical reel stops are weighted more heavily. We reduced the weighting on high-paying symbols and increased it on blanks and low pays. The machine still displayed the same payable to players, but the actual probability of hitting each combination dropped significantly. Players kept sitting at these retrofitted machines because they looked familiar. They remembered winning on these games before. What they didn't know is they were playing mathematically different games that just happened to share the same shell. The nostalgia factor actually worked against them, giving them false confidence about machines that had been reconfigured to hold more money. Here's another modification casinos make to legacy machines: adding bill validators and ticket printers to games that originally used coins. This seems like a harmless convenience update. No more hauling buckets of quarters. But when they add these components, they're also accessing the computer system to enable the new hardware. And while they're in there, they often update the payout programming as well. I'm not saying every legacy machine with a ticket printer has been made tighter. I'm saying the addition of modern components provides an opportunity for casinos to modify the game math, and many take advantage of that opportunity. The player sees a familiar game with a convenient upgrade. The casino sees a chance to improve their hold percentage while maintaining the game's nostalgic appeal. Let me tell you about the legal side of this. Casinos are absolutely allowed to modify machines as long as the changes are approved by gaming regulators. They have to submit the new software for testing and certification. Once approved, they can install it. They don't have to announce the modifications to players. They don't have to post signs saying this classic game now has different odds. The payable is disclosed on the machine, and that's considered sufficient transparency. This means you could play the same branded game at 3 different casinos and be playing 3 different mathematical models. Or you could play the same physical machine at the same casino 5 years apart and be playing completely different configurations. The only constant is the theme and appearance. Here's a specific warning about video conversions. Some casinos take old mechanical reel machines and convert them to video displays showing simulated reels. This is a massive modification that completely changes the game. The old mechanical version had physical limitations on how symbols could be weighted. The video version can weight symbols any way the software allows. A combination that appeared once every 1,000 spins on the mechanical version might appear once every 5,000 spins on the video conversion. Can players who loved the mechanical version see the video version and assume it's the same game in a different format? It's not. It's a completely different probability model disguised as the same game. The video conversion probably has worse odds because the casino wouldn't invest in the conversion unless it improved their profit margin. I'll give you some advice on identifying potentially modified legacy machines. Check the manufacturer label and any certification stickers. Look for recent dates. If a 20-year-old cabinet has certification stickers from the last 2 years, it's been modified. Also check the software version if it's displayed anywhere in the help screens. Legacy games should have old version numbers. If you see recent version numbers on old-looking machines, they've been updated. Another tell is inconsistency with your memory of the game. If you remember a bonus round working a certain way, and now it's different, it's not your memory failing. The game changed. Trust your recollection and recognize you're playing an altered version. The safest approach with legacy machines is to treat them as if you've never played them before. Don't rely on past experience or nostalgia. Check the current payable. Observe how the game plays for a dozen spins and make decisions based on present performance rather than historical memory. That familiar old favorite might not be your friend anymore. Number 8, the time of day pattern. Ask any regular casino player and they'll tell you with absolute confidence that slots are tighter during peak hours. Weekends, evenings, holiday periods, whenever the casino is packed, the machines pay worse. During slow periods like Tuesday mornings or late-night weekday hours, the slots loosen up to attract the few players who are there. This belief is so widespread that players structure their entire casino visits around it. I'm going to tell you the truth about time-based payout adjustments, and it's more complicated than you think. First, the technical reality. Modern slot machines can absolutely be reprogrammed remotely to change payout percentages. The casino's central server can communicate with networked machines and adjust settings without a technician physically accessing each game. The technology exists, and casinos have this capability. So the question isn't whether they can adjust odds based on time of day. The question is whether they actually do it, and if so, how. Here's what I learned working casino floors across multiple properties. Most casinos do not actively tighten machines during peak hours. The reason is practical, not ethical. Gaming regulations in most jurisdictions require casinos to submit any payout percentage changes for approval and documentation. Changing settings multiple times per day based on foot traffic would create a compliance nightmare. The paperwork and regulatory oversight aren't worth the incremental profit. But, and this is important, casinos absolutely adjust machine configurations based on long-term patterns. They analyze performance data to determine optimal settings for different areas and different times of year. A machine might be set looser during the slow season from January through March, then tightened in June when tourism picks up. These aren't real-time adjustments. They're strategic reconfigurations that happen periodically, maybe monthly or quarterly. So the time of day belief isn't completely wrong. It's just misunderstanding when the changes happen. You're not playing a machine that got tightened when you walked in at 7 p.m. on Saturday night. You're playing a machine that was configured months ago based on historical data showing Saturday nights generate high traffic that doesn't require competitive odds to maintain. Let me explain how this actually affects you during peak hours. Casinos don't need to offer better odds to fill seats. Every machine is getting action regardless of payout percentage. So over time, casino management learns they can set these peak hour machines to higher hold percentages without losing business. During slow periods, those same machines might sit empty for hours. To generate any revenue at all, the casino needs attractive odds. So they configure slow period machines more competitively. The adjustment isn't happening in real time based on the clock. It's that different machines placed in areas that see different traffic patterns throughout the day are configured with different long-term settings. The machine near the buffet that's busy during lunch and dinner but empty overnight, that might have mediocre odds because it gets peak hour play. The machine in the far corner that only gets action during graveyard shift when serious players are around, that might have better odds to compete for the limited late-night crowd. Here's what really changes based on time of day. Not the machines, but the player population. During peak hours, you're surrounded by casual gamblers, tourists, and recreational players who don't know what they're doing. They're playing high-denomination games, betting max, making emotional decisions. The casino doesn't need to adjust machine settings when the players themselves are giving away money through poor choices. During slow periods, the player base shifts. You get more locals, more experienced gamblers, more people who understand bankroll management and game selection. These players demand better odds through their choices. They avoid bad machines and gravitate toward better ones. Casinos know this, which is why they configure slow period zones with slightly better odds. Not out of generosity, but because sophisticated players won't stick around otherwise. I worked overnight shifts where I'd see the same 15 people night after night. These players knew exactly which machines paid best. They'd mapped the floor through months of observation. Management knew these players were knowledgeable, so they couldn't get away with terrible odds during graveyard hours. The overnight machines had to be competitive, or those experienced players would go to a competitor casino. Now, here's where shift changes matter. And this is what players often misinterpret as time-based tightening. When shifts change, typically every 8 hours, new staff come in with fresh energy and attention. They're monitoring the floor more carefully, watching for advantage play, paying closer attention to winners. This increased scrutiny can make players feel like something changed with the machines, when really it's just staff being more present and observant. Also during shift changes, maintenance and cleaning crews move through the casino. They're not adjusting machines, but their presence is disruptive. Players cash out to move away from the commotion, creating the illusion that something's different about the machines during these periods. It's environmental change, not programmatic change. Let me address one specific myth. The idea that machines tighten right before major events like concerts or boxing matches. The logic is that the casino knows people are there for the event. Oh, not the gambling, so they can get away with worse odds. I've never seen this practiced. What actually happens is those event night crowds include many inexperienced gamblers who make poor decisions regardless of machine settings. The casino profits from player behavior, not from last-minute payout adjustments. Here's my practical advice on time-of-day strategy. If you're going to gamble, slow periods do offer advantages, but not because machines are programmed differently in real time. You benefit from less competition for good machines, more attentive service when you need attendance, fewer distractions, and a player population that tends to be more knowledgeable, which pushes casinos to maintain reasonable odds. However, don't assume every Tuesday morning machine is loose and every Saturday night machine is tight. Location matters more than time. A well-positioned machine in a high-traffic area has probably been configured for profitability regardless of when you play it. A poorly positioned machine in a quiet corner might have competitive odds to generate any action at all, and that advantage exists whether you play it at noon or midnight. One more thing about time patterns. Casinos track everything. They know which hours generate the most revenue, which days see the biggest losses, which time periods have the highest player satisfaction scores. They use this data for long-term planning, not real-time manipulation. If their data shows Tuesday afternoons are unprofitable, they might reconfigure that time period's primary machines during the next quarterly adjustment. By the time you notice anything changed, it's been that way for weeks. The bottom line is this: time of day affects casino atmosphere, player population, and staff attention. It does not trigger automatic payout adjustments. The machines you're playing were configured based on historical patterns, not current foot traffic. Choose your machines based on location, maintenance, and payable quality, not based on what time you happen to walk through the door. The clock doesn't control the random number generator. Number 7, tournament machine carryover casinos run slot tournaments all the time. They're great marketing events that draw crowds and create excitement. Players pay an entry fee, get a set amount of tournament credits, and compete for prizes based on who accumulates the most points. The machines used for these tournaments are specially configured for fast, exciting play. And here's what most players don't realize. After the tournament ends, many of those machines go straight back onto the regular casino floor without being reconfigured. Let me explain why this is a problem for you. Tournament machines are programmed differently than regular play machines. They're set to hit frequently because tournament players need action within a limited time window. High hit frequency, lots of small wins. Exciting bonus rounds that trigger often. And this creates the fast-paced competition the tournament needs, but these machines also have lower average payouts per hit. They give you lots of wins, but the wins are smaller relative to your bet. This configuration is fine for tournament play, where you're using free credits and competing for separate prizes. You want maximum hits to accumulate points. But when that same machine goes on the regular floor and you're playing with real money, that high-frequency, low-value payout model destroys your bankroll. You feel like you're winning constantly because you're hitting combinations every few spins, but your credit total keeps declining because each win returns less than your bet. I watched a casino run a weekend tournament on 20 machines in a special area. Sunday night, after the tournament ended, they moved 15 of those machines back to the main floor without any configuration changes. Players sat down Monday morning and couldn't understand why they were losing so fast on games that seemed to be hitting regularly. The machines were doing exactly what they were programmed to do for tournament play, which is terrible for actual bankroll gambling. Here's how you can identify former tournament machines. First, check recent tournament schedules. If the casino ran a tournament in the last week, pay attention to which machines might have been involved. Casinos often use the same games for tournaments repeatedly because they've already configured them appropriately. Second, look for machines that seem to hit frequently but pay poorly. If you're getting wins every 5 or 6 spins but your credits are dropping steadily, that's the tournament payout profile. Another indicator is physical location. Tournament machines often get moved to temporary or semi-permanent tournament areas. After the event, they get relocated to regular floor space. If you notice machines that seem new to a particular location, especially in groups, they might be tournament carryovers. Ask a slot attendant if you're not sure. Most won't directly tell you a machine was used in a tournament, but they might let something slip or redirect you to different games. Let me tell you why casinos don't reconfigure tournament machines before returning them to the floor. It's pure logistics and cost management. Reconfiguring requires technician time, regulatory paperwork, and testing. If a machine is going right back on the floor and the current configuration is within legal limits, why bother changing it? The casino is still profitable in that configuration, maybe even more profitable than their standard settings, because players don't realize they're playing a tournament-optimized game. The psychological trap of tournament carryover machines is especially nasty. You're hitting wins regularly, which feels good. You're triggering bonuses, seeing celebration screens, experiencing the dopamine rewards, but you're bleeding money the entire time because the wins are small and don't cover your bet amounts over time. It's the worst combination. All the emotional manipulation of wins without the actual financial benefit. Here's a specific example I documented. A casino ran a slots tournament using a popular Egyptian-themed game. Tournament configuration had bonus rounds triggering about every 20 spins on average, compared to every 80 spins on the standard version. But each bonus round paid 40% less. Great for tournament scoring, terrible for real money play. After the tournament, those machines stayed on the floor for 3 weeks with the tournament settings. I watched dozens of players lose money quickly while complaining about bad luck, never realizing they were playing a fundamentally different game configuration. Some casinos are more responsible about this than others. The better operations have clear protocols for reconfiguring tournament machines before they go back in service. But enforcement is inconsistent, and I've seen plenty of properties that just move machines back and forth without adjustment. It depends on management priorities and how much they care about player experience versus operational convenience. Let me give you another warning about tournament machines. Some have been heavily used in short time periods. A weekend tournament might see a single machine run 10,000 spins in 2 days. That's intensive use that accelerates wear on components. These machines might develop mechanical issues or software glitches faster than machines with normal play patterns. So even if the payout configuration is fine, you could be sitting at a machine that's been stressed and is more likely to malfunction. Here's what you should do if you suspect you're on a tournament carryover machine. Track your hit frequency and your actual profit or loss carefully. If you're getting wins often but losing money steadily, that's the tournament profile. Cash out and find a different machine. Don't be fooled by frequent small wins. The only number that matters is your total credit balance, and if that's dropping despite regular hits, you're on a bad configuration. You can also ask staff directly. Say something like, was this machine used in last weekend's tournament? Some employees will tell you, others are instructed not to discuss machine configurations. But the question itself might prompt them to subtly steer you elsewhere if they know that machine is problematic. Tournament machines aren't rigged or illegal. They're just optimized for a specific use case that doesn't serve regular players well. Casinos have every right to configure machines this way and move them around the floor. But you have every right to avoid them once you understand what you're playing. High hit frequency is not the same as good value. Lots of action is not the same as fair odds. Don't let the excitement of frequent wins distract you from the reality of steady losses. Number 6, the cluster principle. Casinos don't arrange their slot floors randomly. Every machine is placed according to detailed floor plans that optimize revenue extraction from different player types. One of the most important strategies they use is clustering. They group machines with similar characteristics together, and understanding these clusters can help you avoid the worst zones on the floor. Let me explain the basic cluster types. First, there are low-denomination clusters. All the penny and nickel games grouped together, usually in large sections that feel crowded and loud. These areas are designed for casual players who want long play sessions on small budgets. Because the player base is casual, casinos set these machines to tighter hold percentages. The players don't know any better. In the high volume of play compensates for the lower per-player revenue. Second, there are brand name clusters. All the licensed games based on TV shows, movies, celebrities, grouped in high visibility areas. These machines cost casinos extra in licensing fees, which means they need higher hold percentages to stay profitable. The brands attract uninformed players who choose games based on recognition rather than odds. These clusters are profit centers built on nostalgia and name recognition. Third, there are progressive clusters. Multiple machines linked to shared jackpots positioned prominently to draw attention. As I mentioned earlier, these machines typically have worse base paytables because they're feeding the progressive meter. Clustering them together creates excitement and competition. But every machine in the cluster is fighting against you with reduced standard payouts. Fourth, and this is the one most players never notice, there are geographic clusters based on player traffic patterns. Casinos map foot flow through their property. They identify choke points where everyone has to pass through, areas near popular amenities, and dead zones that see little natural traffic. The high traffic clusters get the tightest machines because they don't need competitive odds to attract play. The low traffic clusters get slightly better machines to draw players into areas they'd otherwise skip. I worked with a casino floor designer who explained their clustering philosophy. They wanted casual players, who represent the majority, funneled into profitable zones. They wanted serious players, who represent a minority but demand better odds, able to find competitive machines if they looked hard enough. The floor layout accomplished both goals through strategic clustering. Here's how this affects you practically. If you walk into a casino and head straight for the most obvious section, the penny slots near the entrance, or the branded games by the buffet, You're walking into a cluster designed for maximum profit extraction from casual players. Those machines are grouped together because they share similar characteristics: high visibility, low player sophistication, and tight hold percentages. Let me give you a specific example of cluster mapping from a property I worked at. We had a main aisle running through the casino connecting the parking garage entrance to the hotel elevators. This was our highest traffic area. Every person entering or leaving walked this path. We lined that aisle with penny video slots featuring popular brands and themes. Every single machine in that cluster was set to the property's tightest hold percentage, 92% return to player. We could get away with it because the traffic was guaranteed and the players were predominantly tourists who wouldn't return anyway. Meanwhile, we had a section near the back poker room that saw almost no casual traffic. Only serious gamblers heading to poker walked through there. We placed a cluster of video poker machines in that area set to 98% return. We needed those competitive odds to satisfy knowledgeable players who'd otherwise complain. The casual tourist never found these machines because they were off the main path. This is the cluster principle in action. Different zones for different player types, with odds calibrated to match expected sophistication levels. The casino isn't hiding the good machines, but they're not advertising them either. You have to understand the floor layout and actively seek out better clusters. Here's another clustering strategy: placing loose machines, ones with better odds, next to or across from tight machines. The loose machine creates a winner. That winner makes noise and draws attention. Other players see the excitement and sit at nearby machines. Those nearby machines are tight. The casino uses one good machine as bait to fill seats on several bad machines around it. The cluster as a whole is profitable, even though one machine in it pays well. I watched this strategy work perfectly with a cluster of 5 dragon-themed slots. Just the center machine was set to 96% return. Genuinely competitive odds. The 4 machines around it were set to 91%. That center machine hit frequently enough that there was almost always someone winning there. Their excitement attracted players to the adjacent machines. The cluster generated massive revenue because 4 out of 5 positions were terrible, but players associated the entire group with the center machine's performance. Pay attention to how clusters are physically arranged. Tight circular groupings suggest the casino wants you focused inward on your immediate neighbors, comparing yourself to nearby players, staying within that zone. Linear arrangements along aisles suggest the casino is optimizing for foot traffic and impulse seating. New Zealand clusters in the middle of the floor are usually brand showcases with premium positions and tight odds. Let me tell you how to use cluster awareness to your advantage. When you walk into a casino, don't sit at the first available machine. Spend 10 minutes walking the entire floor. Identify the clusters. Look for areas that seem less busy, sections away from main traffic paths, zones that feel like afterthoughts. These areas often have better configured machines because the casino is trying to generate any revenue at all from spaces that don't naturally attract players. Also look for mixed clusters where 1 or 2 machines seem out of place. A couple of video poker machines in a section, otherwise full of penny slots. A few older mechanical reels in an area dominated by video screens. These odd placements sometimes indicate better configurations because the casino is using them to add variety to a zone. And variety often means competitive odds to appeal to different player preferences. Here's a warning about deliberately bad clusters. Some casinos create what I call sacrifice zones. These are areas with universally tight machines where the casino has accepted they won't get much play. They're usually in terrible locations, maybe near restrooms or service corridors. The thinking is that only desperate or completely uninformed players will sit there, so why bother with competitive odds? If you find yourself in a part of the casino that feels neglected, trust that instinct. The machines probably are neglected, and neglect means poor configuration. The best cluster on most casino floors is whatever's newest. When casinos introduce new games, they often set them competitively for the first few weeks to generate interest and positive word of mouth. These promotional clusters won't last. Once the newness wears off and the games have established themselves, the casino will tighten them to normal hold percentages. But in those early days, new game clusters can offer some of the best odds on the property. One final thought on clustering. Casino loyalty programs sometimes steer different player tiers to different clusters. Your app might show promotions or free play offers, tied to specific sections of the floor. The section they're promoting to your tier is almost certainly a cluster configured for maximum extraction from players like you. Don't let marketing push you into bad clusters. Do your own reconnaissance and make decisions based on observation, not on where the casino wants you to play. Number 5, manufacturer red flags. Not all slot machines are created equal, and not all manufacturers have your best interests in mind. The company that designed and built the machine you're playing has as much influence over your odds as the casino operating it. Some manufacturers are known for player-friendly games with reasonable hit frequencies and transparent pay tables. Others are notorious for creating the tightest, most manipulative games in the industry. Learning which manufacturers to avoid can save you thousands. Let me start by explaining how this works. Slot manufacturers design games and sell them to casinos with a range of configurable settings. The manufacturer creates the math model, the theme, the graphics, the bonus features, all of it. Then they offer the game in multiple payout configurations. A casino can order the 96% version, the 94% version, the 92% version, or whatever options the manufacturer provides. Here's the key. Some manufacturers design their base games to be relatively fair, and even their tightest configurations are reasonable. Other manufacturers design games that are predatory at every configuration level. They build in excessive near misses. They create bonus rounds that rarely trigger. They structure paytables that look generous but actually pay terribly. No matter which configuration the casino chooses, you're playing a game designed to be hostile to players. I'm going to name names here because you deserve to know. Aristocrat makes some of the tightest games in the industry. Their Buffalo series, their Lightning Link games, these are extremely popular and extremely difficult to profit from. High volatility, long dry spells, bonus rounds that promise more than they deliver. Casinos love Aristocrat games because they perform consistently for the house. Players love them because the themes are exciting and the bonuses look impressive, but the math underneath is brutal. IGT, International Game Technology, is another manufacturer to approach carefully. They make some classics like Wheel of Fortune and Cleopatra, games that have been around forever, but many of their newer titles are configured aggressively against players. They've also pioneered some of the most manipulative features in modern slots, like celebration screens for losses and near-miss programming. Now, I'm not saying never play Aristocrat or IGT games. I'm saying understand that when you sit at one of their machines, you're playing a game built by companies that prioritize casino profitability over player experience. Their games are engineered to maximize hold percentage while maintaining enough entertainment value to keep you seated. On the flip side, some manufacturers have better reputations. UMS Gaming, before they were acquired, made games with relatively transparent math. Bally Technologies has some player-friendly titles. Konami makes games that tend to hit more frequently, even if the individual hits are smaller. These companies still exist to profit, but their design philosophies are slightly less aggressive. Here's how to identify the manufacturer of any machine. Look for labels on the cabinet, usually near the bottom or on the side panels. The company logo and name will be there. If you can't find external labels, check the game's help or info screens. The manufacturer information is usually disclosed somewhere in the software. Once you know who made the game, you can research their reputation or simply pay attention to your own experiences across multiple sessions. Let me tell you about PAR sheets. These are the internal probability accounting reports that show exactly how each game is configured. They include hit frequencies, payout percentages, bonus trigger rates, everything. Manufacturers create PAR sheets for each game configuration they offer. Casinos have access to these sheets, you don't. This information asymmetry is huge. The casino knows exactly how tight or loose each machine is. You're guessing based on experience and observation. Some PAR sheets have been leaked over the years, and when you study them, you see the truth about certain manufacturers. They design games where the advertised top payout is theoretically possible, but so unlikely that it might not hit once in the machine's entire operational lifetime. They create bonus rounds with multiple stages, where most players fail in the early stages, never reaching the big payouts that make the bonus look attractive. These manipulations are legal because the math is disclosed in the PAR sheet, even though players never see it. Here's a red flag to watch for with any manufacturer. Games that show you tons of special symbols, wilds, multipliers, and bonus triggers, but somehow you never seem to get the right combination. The screen is full of exciting elements that all feel almost useful, but they don't line up in ways that pay meaningfully. This is deliberate design. The manufacturer created the illusion of opportunity while programming the actual probability to be terrible. Another manufacturer red flag is pay-per-view features. Some games let you pay extra to see statistics like hot and cold numbers or symbol frequencies. This information is useless because the RNG is random and past results don't predict future outcomes. But manufacturers include these features anyway because they know players will pay for the illusion of control. Any game trying to sell you meaningless data is made by a manufacturer that doesn't respect player intelligence. Let me tell you about one manufacturer trick that really bothers me. Creating multiple versions of popular games with identical names and themes but different math models. You played Jackpot Party at one casino and loved it. You see Jackpot Party at another casino and assume it's the same game. It might not be. The manufacturer could have released 3 different versions over the years, each with different configurations. You're playing a game that looks and sounds like your favorite, but performs completely differently. Manufacturer reputation also affects how responsive games are to player complaints. The big established companies have relationships with casinos and gaming regulators. If a game has a controversial feature, or if players complain loudly enough, these manufacturers might revise future versions. Smaller manufacturers without reputations to protect are more likely to push boundaries with aggressive game designs and not care about backlash. Here's my advice. Pay attention to who makes the games where you consistently lose quickly despite feeling like you're getting action. Track the manufacturers of machines where your money disappears faster than expected. After a few casino visits, you'll notice patterns. You'll see certain company names associated with the worst outcomes. Trust that data and avoid those manufacturers going forward. Also, don't be fooled by licenses and brands. Just because a slot machine features your favorite TV show or movie doesn't mean it's a good game. The manufacturer paid for that license and needs to recoup the cost, which usually means tighter configurations. A game with an expensive license is a manufacturer red flag regardless of who made it. The slot machine industry is built on information asymmetry. Manufacturers and casinos know everything about the games. You know almost nothing, but you can learn through observation and by understanding which companies consistently make games that benefit the house more than others. Not all slots are equally bad for players. Some manufacturers make them significantly worse. Identify those companies and steer clear of their games regardless of how attractive the themes look. Number 4, the cash-out delay tactic. You're ready to leave. You've been playing for 2 hours. You're either up a bit or down to your limit, and you make the decision to cash out. You hit the cash out button, and then you wait. The machine takes 5, 10, sometimes 15 seconds to print your ticket. During that delay, the game plays a little animation. Maybe coins filling a vault or a progress bar creeping across the screen. Your credits are locked, you can't play, but you also don't have your money yet. This delay is not technical necessity. It's psychological manipulation designed to make you reconsider cashing out. Let me explain what's really happening during a cash-out delay. The machine processed your request instantly. The computer knows immediately that you want to cash out, and it could print your ticket in under 2 seconds. The delay is programmed deliberately to create a pause where you're forced to sit with your decision. During that pause, the casino hopes you'll change your mind. Think about what's going through your head during a cash-out delay. You're second-guessing yourself. Should I play a little longer? What if the next spin would have been the bonus round? I'm only up $30, maybe I should try for 50. Or you're down and thinking, what if I could win back some of my losses with a few more spins? The delay creates space for doubt and impulse to override your decision to leave. Some machines take this even further with continuation prompts. After you hit cash out, but before the ticket prints, a message appears on screen. Are you sure you want to cash out? Or print ticket and continue playing? Or would you like to keep these credits active? These aren't helpful confirmations. They're attempts to talk you out of leaving. Every additional button press or decision point is another opportunity for you to abandon the cash out. I watched a game designer present these features to casino executives. He showed data proving that cash-out delays increased re-engagement rates by 15%. That means 15% of players who hit the cash out button end up canceling and continuing to play because of the delay in prompts. From the casino's perspective, this is free money. You'd already made the decision to leave, but they manipulated you into staying and losing more. Here's another element of cash out delays that's particularly sneaky. During the delay, some machines continue playing sounds and animations. You hear slot machine noises from your own game or neighboring games. You see other players winning. Your environment is still fully immersive in the gambling experience, even though you're supposedly in the process of leaving. This environmental saturation makes it harder to maintain your resolve to cash out. Let me tell you about variable delay times. Some machines have longer delays for larger cash out amounts. You're cashing out $300 after a good session, and the delay is noticeably longer than when you cashed out $20 earlier in the day. The machine is giving you more time to reconsider because you're leaving with more of the casino's money. This variable timing is deliberate. There's no technical reason that printing a ticket for $300 takes longer than printing one for $20. I've also seen machines that have delays when cashing out during hot streaks, but process quickly when you're cashing out after losses. If you just hit a bonus round and immediately try to cash out, the delay is extended. The casino wants you to ride that emotional high into more betting. If you've been losing steadily and finally give up, the cash out is quick. They're happy to let you go without friction because you've already given them plenty of money. Pay attention to the specific animations during cash out delays. Many show your credits being counted or processed. This creates the impression of work being done, suggesting the delay is functional. It's theater. The machine knows your balance instantly. It's not counting anything. It's just running out the clock on a psychological timer designed to wear down your decision. Here's what you should do when you encounter cash out delays. Commit to your decision before you hit the button. Tell yourself, I am cashing out, and no matter what happens during the delay, I am taking my ticket and leaving. Don't look at the screen during the delay. Don't engage with any prompts or animations. Just wait for the ticket to print, grab it, and stand up immediately. Breaking eye contact with the machine during the cash out process helps you maintain resolve. Some players tell me they use the delay to plan their next move. If I'm up, I'll go to the buffet. If I'm down, I'll hit the ATM. Stop. Don't plan your next gambling move during the cash out delay. Plan to leave the casino or take a meaningful break. The delay is trying to keep you in gambling mode. You need to actively shift your mindset out of it. Let me warn you about a related tactic. Machines positioned near casino cages or redemption kiosks. You cash out, you walk 10 feet to redeem your ticket, and you're immediately surrounded by more slot machines. The casino knows you're holding either cash or a ticket, and they're giving you opportunities to put it right back into play before you reach the exit. This geographic manipulation works hand in hand with cash out delays. They delay your exit psychologically, then they delay it physically by making you walk through more gambling to get to the cage. I'll tell you about the worst cash out manipulation I ever saw. A casino that programmed their machines to show you a bonus round preview during the cash out delay. The screen would flash images of the bonus round you could have won if you'd kept playing. You were just 3 spins away from free games. Complete nonsense because the RNG doesn't work that way, but the message was clear. You're making a mistake by leaving. This feature got so many complaints that the Gaming Commission made them remove it, but the fact that it existed at all shows how far casinos will go to manipulate cash-out decisions. Here's the bottom line. Cash-out delays are not about processing time. They're about giving the casino one last chance to keep you playing. Every second of delay is a second where you might change your mind. Every prompt or animation is a psychological nudge toward canceling your cash-out. Sure, recognize these tactics for what they are. Make firm decisions about when to leave, and don't let programmed delays undermine your self-control. When you decide to cash out, commit to it completely and get your money out of that machine as fast as the software will allow. Number 3, advertised RTP versus reality return to player percentage, or RTP, is the single most important number in slot machine gambling. It tells you on average how much of your wagered money the machine will return over its lifetime. A machine with 96% RTP theoretically returns 96 cents for every dollar wagered, with the casino keeping 4 cents. This number should help you make informed decisions about which machines to play. Except casinos have found multiple ways to make advertised RTP meaningless or misleading. Let me start with the most common deception. Casinos advertise up to a certain RTP. You'll see signs saying slots up to 98% return or video poker up to 99.5%. That up to is doing a lot of work. It means somewhere on the property, at least one machine offers that return percentage. It doesn't mean most machines do. It doesn't even mean many machines do. It could be a single machine tucked in a corner that nobody finds, and the casino is legally covered. I worked at a property that advertised up to 98% return. We had exactly 3 machines set to 98% out of over 2,000 total slots. Those 3 were ancient video poker machines in a section near the loading dock that barely got any play. Everything else ranged from 91 to 95%. But our advertising was technically truthful. We did offer up to 98%. We just didn't mention how rare those machines were. Here's another RTP manipulation. Different denominations of the same game can have wildly different return percentages. The penny version might be set to 92%, while the dollar version is set to 96%. Casinos know penny players are more casual and less likely to understand or care about RTP. They also know penny players can't afford to play dollars, so they segment the market, giving better odds to higher denomination players who they're more worried about losing to competitors. This means when you see an advertised RTP for a specific game, you need to know which denomination that number applies to. Usually it's the highest denomination because that's the most impressive number the casino can advertise. The denomination you actually play is probably configured lower. Unless the casino explicitly states all denominations, assume the advertised number doesn't apply to your betting level. Let me tell you about certification games. These are machines casinos set up specifically to pass regulatory inspections and audits. Gaming commissions test random machines to verify they're operating within legal limits. Casinos know which machines are most likely to be tested, usually newer models or games that have received complaints. They set those machines to favorable configurations. Everything else can be tighter because it's unlikely to get tested. The certified machines skew the overall average RTP upward in reports, even though most machines on the floor are configured worse. Here's something most players don't understand about RTP. It's calculated over millions of spins. The theoretical RTP is what the machine will return if played millions of times over years of operation. Your individual session of a few hundred spins can deviate wildly from that percentage. You could play a 96% RTP machine and lose 90% of your money in an afternoon due to variance. The RTP that doesn't guarantee anything about short-term results. Casinos exploit this misunderstanding. They can advertise a high RTP, which sounds player-friendly, while knowing that most players will never experience anything close to that return because they don't play enough spins. The advertised number is mathematically true, but practically irrelevant to your actual experience. You're not going to make 1,000,000 bets. You're going to make a few thousand at most. Your actual return will be determined by short-term variance, not long-term averages. Another RTP issue is aggregation. Casinos sometimes advertise an average RTP across a category of machines. All our dollar slots average 95% return. That average includes some machines at 98% and others at 92%. Unless you know which specific machines are at the high end, the average is useless information. You could easily end up on a 92% machine while believing you're playing in a 95% category. Let me explain why casinos don't just set all machines to the legal minimum and be done with it. Competition and player retention. If every slot were at 90%, which is around the legal minimum in many jurisdictions, players would lose too quickly and stop coming. Casinos need some machines with better RTPs to create winners who come back. But they also need tight machines on casual players who don't know to look for better odds. The solution is a range of RTPs across the floor with better percentages hidden in less obvious locations. This is why advertised RTP is often meaningless. It doesn't tell you which machines have good returns. It doesn't help you choose where to sit. It just gives the casino legal cover to claim they offer competitive odds while most of their floor is configured aggressively against you. Here's what you can do to find actual RTP information. Some jurisdictions require casinos to make this data available. In Nevada, you can request RTP reports by zip code or area. In some tribal casinos, this information is posted online. Do research before visiting. Know what the actual average is for the property, not just what they advertise. If a casino advertises up to 98%, but their required reporting shows an overall average of 92%, you know their advertising is misleading. Also, understand that RTP can be changed. Casinos can reconfigure machines when they want. That 96% machine you played last month might be at 94% today. Unless you have current information, you're guessing. The safest assumption is that most machines are set closer to the legal minimum than to the advertised maximum because that's what makes business sense for the casino. Let me give you one more warning about RTP. It assumes perfect play. On games like video poker, where you make decisions that affect outcomes, the advertised RTP is only achievable if you play perfectly according to optimal strategy. Most players don't. They make mistakes that reduce the actual return by several percentage points. So even if you find a 99% video poker machine, you're probably experiencing closer to 96% due to playing errors. The casino gets to advertise the theoretical maximum while knowing real-world returns are lower. The bottom line on advertised RTP, trust nothing. Those signs and promotions are marketing designed to get you through the door. The actual returns you'll experience depend on which specific machine you choose, which denomination you play, how long your session is, and how much variance affects your individual results. Don't make playing decisions based on casino advertising. Make them based on careful observation, research into required disclosures, and knowledge of how these numbers are manipulated to sound better than they are. Number 2, the linked progressive illusion. You see a massive progressive jackpot, maybe $2 million, and the screen shows it's linked across multiple machines. You look around and count 6 or 8 machines all feeding the same progressive meter. It feels local, like you're competing with just a handful of other players for this huge prize. This is exactly what the casino wants you to think, and it's completely wrong. That progressive is probably linked across dozens of casinos and thousands of machines. Your realistic odds of winning are astronomical, but the presentation makes it feel achievable. Let me break down how progressive linking actually works. There are 3 types. Standalone progressives are single machines with their own jackpot. Local progressives link machines within one casino, usually a bank of 6 to 12 units. Wide area progressives link machines across multiple properties, sometimes across an entire state or region. The display on your machine doesn't clearly tell you which type you're playing. You see the other machines nearby feeding the same meter and assume it's local. Often it's not. Wide area progressives are huge moneymakers for casinos and slot manufacturers. A company like IGT runs networks like Megabucks that link hundreds of casinos. Every machine in the network contributes a tiny percentage of each bet to a shared jackpot pool. The jackpot grows large quickly because of the massive volume, but your individual chance of winning is microscopic because you're competing with thousands of other players making tens of thousands of bets per hour. Here's the illusion. Aquart's casinos deliberately place banks of linked machines so you can see the other players nearby. You watch 4 or 5 other people playing the same progressive. It feels intimate, like a small competition. What you don't see are the hundreds of other banks at other casinos all feeding the same jackpot. The physical setup creates a false sense of scale. You think you're in a race with 5 people when really you're in a lottery with 5,000. This misperception affects how you value the bet. You see a $2 million jackpot and think about the number of players you observe around you. You estimate your chances based on visible competition. If there are 6 machines and you're one of 6 players, you feel like you have a meaningful shot. In reality, those 6 machines represent less than 1% of the total network. Your actual odds might be 1 in several million. Let me tell you why wide area progressives have terrible value despite huge jackpots. The money feeding that massive meter comes from reduced payouts on everything else. Base game hits pay less, bonus rounds pay less. Every aspect of the game is tightened to fund the progressive. Yes, someone will eventually win that $2 million, but the thousands of players who don't win are playing a much worse game than they would on a non-progressive version of the same slot. I watched a man play a wide area progressive for an entire day once. He started with $500, worked it up to $900, then spent the next 8 hours slowly bleeding down to zero. He kept playing because that big progressive number hypnotized him. He thought he was due. And he felt like he'd invested too much to quit before hitting it. The jackpot never came, and he lost everything. His theoretical chance of hitting that progressive in one day of play was probably less than being struck by lightning. Here's another aspect of linked progressives that casinos don't emphasize. When someone does hit a wide area jackpot, it happens at one specific machine at one specific casino. The other thousands of machines in the network don't benefit at all. The meter resets across the entire network, and everyone goes back to building toward the minimum progressive amount. If you've been playing for weeks helping build that meter, and someone in a different state hits it, you got nothing from your contribution except a reset game. Compare this to a local progressive. A bank of 8 machines in one casino, Andor's linked to a jackpot that must be won by someone playing one of those 8 machines. When it hits, the winner is someone you can see, someone who was in the same room as you. The odds are still long, but they're orders of magnitude better than wide area progressives. You're competing with 7 other players, not 7,000. Here's how to identify which type of progressive you're playing. Check the signage above the machine. Wide area progressives usually have branded names and network logos. Megabucks, Powerbucks, Lightning Link. These are multi-casino networks. Local progressives usually show only the casino's branding. Also check if the progressive meter is a physical LED display spanning multiple machines or a virtual display on individual screens. Physical LED displays spanning a bank suggest local linking. So virtual displays could be either local or wide area, but if you see the exact same jackpot amount on machines far apart in the casino, it's definitely wide area. You can also ask casino employees, though they might not know. Many slot attendants don't understand the difference between local and wide area progressives. But if you specifically ask, is this progressive linked to other casinos or just this property, you'll sometimes get an honest answer. If they confirm it's multi-property, you know your odds are terrible. Let me tell you why casinos love the linked progressive illusion. It lets them advertise massive jackpots without taking on massive liability. The progressive is funded by players across the network. Any individual casino's exposure is limited to their contribution percentage. But they get to market a huge jackpot that draws players in. It's the perfect setup. Big numbers attract players, network linking spreads the risk, and the illusion of local competition keeps people playing. Here's my advice on linked progressives. If you're going to play them, choose standalone or local progressives exclusively. Yes, the jackpots are smaller. A local progressive might only climb to 20 or 30,000 instead of 2 million, but your realistic chance of winning is hundreds or thousands of times better. A smaller jackpot you might actually hit is worth infinitely more than a massive jackpot you'll never see. Also, calculate the cost. Look at how much the progressive meter rises per bet. If you're betting $1 and the meter increases by a penny, that's a 1% contribution rate. You'd need to wager $10,000 collectively to raise the meter $100. If the meter needs to grow by $500,000 to reach the jackpot, the network needs to collect $50 million in wagers. Do you really want to participate in that economy? The linked progressive illusion is one of the casino industry's most effective deceptions. They make a long-shot lottery ticket look like a realistic competition. They use physical placement to hide the true scale of the network. They leverage huge jackpot numbers to override your rational assessment of odds. Don't fall for it. Wide area progressives are sucker bets dressed up as opportunities. Save your money for games where you have actual chances of winning. Number 1, commission-based floor placement. This is it. The number one thing ex-employees want you to know about slot machines. The single most important factor in where machines are placed and how they're configured, something that overrides everything else on this list. Commission-based floor placement and employee incentive structures that directly tie staff compensation to which machines you play. This is the insider secret that changes how you should view every interaction with casino personnel. Here's how it works. Casinos pay certain employees, primarily slot hosts and floor attendants, bonuses or commissions based on the performance of specific machines or zones. A slot host might get a percentage of revenue generated by players they direct to particular games. A floor attendant might earn extra money when machines in their assigned section hit performance targets. These incentive structures create direct financial motivation for employees to steer you toward the casino's most profitable machines, not the machines that give you the best odds. Let me be very clear about what this means. When a slot host walks up to you and says, "Hey, you should try those new games over by the poker room. They've been hitting great." That host might be making that recommendation because they earn extra money from play on those machines. When a floor attendant suggests you move to a different section, they might be directing you toward their commission zone. The advice sounds friendly and helpful. It's actually financially motivated guidance toward machines that benefit the casino and the employee, not you. I worked under this system. I was explicitly told by management which games to promote. We had weekly meetings where they'd tell us these 5 banks of machines need more play. We're restructuring your commission to incentivize directing players there. Why did those machines need more play? Because they were either new and the casino needed to recoup purchase costs, or they were tight machines in bad locations that weren't generating enough revenue naturally. The machines employees are incentivized to promote are never the loosest machines on the floor. Think about it. If a machine already attracts players because of good payout percentages and word-of-mouth reputation, it doesn't need employee promotion. The casino isn't going to pay staff to direct you toward machines that are already popular and already paying well. They pay staff to drive traffic toward underperforming areas and unfavorable games. Here's a specific example of how commission structures work. A casino installs a new bank of penny slots in a back corner. These machines cost $3 million and they're set to a tight 91% return to maximize profit. But the location is poor and players aren't naturally sitting there. Management tells slot hosts that any player they direct to those machines, they'll earn 1% of that player's theoretical loss. Suddenly, every host on the floor is telling players about these great new games that just came in. The players trust the recommendation because it's coming from an employee. They don't know that employee is being paid to mislead them. This commission system also affects how employees respond when you ask for advice. Arsh, you walk up to a floor attendant and say, "Which machines are paying well today?" An honest answer would be to direct you toward machines with better RTP or games that have been hitting frequently. But if the employee has commission incentives, they're going to direct you toward whatever benefits their paycheck. They might be perfectly friendly and seem genuinely helpful. Their financial interests are just aligned with the casino, not with you. Let me tell you about the worst version of this I encountered. Casinos that pay hosts based on player losses rather than just play volume. If a player the host recruited loses $1,000, the host gets $50. This creates incentive for hosts to target vulnerable players who they think will lose big. They're watching for people who look frustrated, people on losing streaks who might chase losses, people who seem emotionally compromised. These are the players who get the most attention and the most aggressive steering toward profitable machines. Some casinos have moved toward automated systems that remove the human element. Algorithms track your play through your player's club card and send push notifications to your phone suggesting which machines to play next. These seem impersonal and data-driven. They're actually the same commission-based logic, just automated. The system is programmed to steer you toward underperforming or high-profit machines, and it does so under the guise of personalized recommendations. Here's how commission structures affect machine placement on the floor. The machine's employees are paid to promote get positioned in areas where employee interaction is frequent. Near slot host desks, along paths where floor attendants circulate, close to cashier cages where you might stop to ask questions. These aren't premium positions based on foot traffic. They're premium positions for employee-driven promotion. The casino knows you'll interact with staff in these areas, giving them opportunities to direct you toward commission-generating machines. Let me explain why employees who warn players or give honest advice don't last long. I tried to be ethical about this. When players asked me for genuine advice, I'd direct them to machines I knew had better configurations, even if those machines didn't earn me commission. Management noticed my commission earnings were lower than other hosts. They had conversations with me about it. The message was clear: maximize revenue or find another job. Employees who prioritize player welfare over casino profit get pushed out. This is why you should never, ever trust machine recommendations from casino employees. I don't care how friendly they are. I don't care how long you've known them. Their income is tied to steering you toward profitable machines. Even if they personally like you and want you to win, their financial incentive is to guide you toward machines that benefit the casino. This creates an impossible conflict of interest that almost always resolves in favor of the employee's paycheck. Here's what employees actually avoid when they're gambling on their days off. They avoid the new games they've been promoting. They avoid machines in high-traffic areas where management monitors performance closely. They gravitate toward older machines in quiet corners, games that have been on the floor so long that nobody's paying attention to their configuration anymore. These forgotten machines sometimes have legacy settings that are more favorable because management hasn't bothered to tighten them. I'm going to tell you the machines I played when I worked casinos. Single-line video poker in the high-limit room because video poker has transparent pay-to-bulls and return percentages you can calculate. Old mechanical reel machines near service corridors because they were original installations from before the commission system started and nobody had reconfigured them. Standalone games that were so unpopular they'd been written off as losses. Because the casino stopped caring about optimizing machines that generated no revenue anyway. The machines I avoided? Everything near the main gaming floor. Everything new or recently promoted. Every machine that showed up in staff meetings as needing more play. Every game where management was tracking performance metrics. These were all machines configured for maximum profit with staff incentivized to fill the seats. Here's my final warning about commission-based placement. The system is spreading. More casinos are implementing it because it works. It increases revenue by getting players onto profitable machines they'd otherwise avoid. The practice is legal as long as employees aren't explicitly lying about machine configurations. And since most employees don't actually know the specific RTP settings anyway, they can promote machines with genuine enthusiasm without technically lying. You need to understand that every interaction with casino personnel is potentially compromised by financial incentives you're not aware of. That friendly slot host isn't your buddy helping you find loose machines. They're a commissioned salesperson directing you toward inventory they're paid to move. That helpful floor attendant isn't sharing insider knowledge. They're executing a business strategy that benefits them and the casino at your expense. Trust your own research and observation. Track your results across multiple sessions on different machines. Build your own understanding of which games and locations perform better. Don't outsource your decision-making to people who profit from your losses. The employees who seem most helpful and knowledgeable are often the ones who've mastered the art of making commission-driven recommendations sound like friendly advice. See through it. Make your own choices. And remember that in a casino, nobody's looking out for your interests except you.